6:30 to 6:31. So we had to wrap up our other meeting. So thank you very much for attending our Board Academy meeting. Today is Monday, January 5th of 2026. So welcome to the new year, everybody. Dr. Hanson will take roll call tonight as Ms. Clark is out ill. And we'll continue on. We'll start with, could I get a motion to accept the employee resignations that are embedded in our agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Teresa, to a second.
Second.
Second by Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried unanimously there. So then I would look for a motion to approve the employee hires and the contracts that were embedded as well.
So moved.
A motion by Teresa there. Do I have a second for that one?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is unanimous as well. So then we will have a presentation of information from the administrative leadership team, meetings and teacher meetings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Say had a nice request for information from Board Member Katie Rice. And so just wanted to briefly walk through as part of our work here at our Board Academy meetings, bringing out that information about how we're operating within our systems and things like that. I've got some representatives from elementary and our middle school and high school, and also Angie Pluger here at the district office. And so, just talking about how we schedule and put together our administrative team meetings, and also what are some of the meetings that our faculty go through. And so I'm going to take this from the perspective of, what we are actually scheduling. So I'm going to start with the district office, what we do first, and then move into Director Angie Pluger, our Director of Curriculum Instruction, talking about what professional development generally globally is looking like and when that occurs, and then walk into what meetings our teachers are asked to go to by their principals. And you'll hear an elementary, a middle school, and a high school there, and happy to stand by for some questions. So right now, from the district office perspective, I asked the administrators and along with Angie, we have 3 meetings monthly. First Wednesday, I take the 4th Wednesday, whatever it might fall, or you second Wednesday, I can't remember now. Yeah, 2nd and 4th. And so Angie will direct the administrative guiding coalition. That's all administrators plus our instructional coaches. Really strong meeting there. Walk through what we're doing to impact student learning and our guiding coalition process there. Then I'll take that 4th Wednesday and I'll move into a review of, we always start with a review of where we're at instructionally, things such as that, how we're doing with the work of improving instruction. And those 2 meetings last roughly 2 to 2.5 hours, that 2nd and that 4th. And then mine really gets to know more operations and things such as that. So there's time for Michelle, myself, and other directors to give information there. So we like to have our administrators out within 2.5 hours. If a major happens at all, they're always able to go get there. So the final meeting is what we have been working with CISA 5 and Stephanie. It's a grant called the Inclusive Learning Community. That's we're 18 months into that project. And that was a grant through DPI directed with CISA 5 and CISA 4 assistance there. That's really focusing in on our students. What work are we doing to impact the growth of our students with disabilities? Very targeted work in the systems and our approaches to improving academic growth for our students with disabilities. And so it ties in marvelously with the work of our current PLC process. When you take a look at our administrative guiding coalition straight down to our team collaborations, the impact is absolutely there. So those are what I'll call the big 3, the only 3 that I call for our principals. And so we were excited to hear back that in our journey as a professional learning community, we had to start with quite a few meetings, and we're starting to dwindle those down. We heard some anecdotal evidence at one of our meetings. Hey, see our principals more. That's great. We also need that time together to move our systems forward, to bring the clarity, cohesion, and all the competencies that we need from all of our team members, leadership, to everyone carrying it out to improve student growth. So that's just my brief piece there. Angie, on any of those three meetings, did you want to add anything else for clarification?
The ILC is a grant where we get $30,000 each year. Part of the reason that we were selected for that grant is because we have the identification regarding our special education students. And so the requirement through the grant is that we meet with that team once a month for the designated time. So it is part of that stipulation, which is why that meeting got added.
Great. Then in terms of any additional meetings our administrators go to, those I couldn't comment on, I would say for the required ones, there might be IEP meetings. Now, sometimes the school psychologist or one of the special education teachers would essentially chair those, so they're not on all of them, but when we have 600 plus IEPs, principals at particular buildings may be rolling into those. So really the other meetings principals may go to are just driven by what the need may be at their particular buildings. And so we're normally on site for those. And so I just wanted to really focus in on what the DO is requesting from our principals in terms of where we need you to be during the month. So 3 times is where I require them to be. And then I'd like to turn over briefly to Angie, just talk about the professional development side of the house from that DO piece.
So we used to have like PD days that were built in, but once we shifted in order to have our collaboration on the Wednesday, those days really kind of dissipated. And so right now we have that half day in September, which is for CranFest, like during CranFest. And buildings decide what happens during that meeting, so they create professional development based on their building needs. We have a day coming up in January on the 19th, and that is grading prep. And then the second portion of the day, each building principal will lead again another, it's for their building. So it's a 1.5 to 2 hour meeting with our whole staff. They'll work on their SIP or any of their school plans, but it isn't anything that's like formally arranged as far as PD goes. On February 16th, we have Jeannie Spiller coming back, and she will be presenting district-wide on instructional strategies, as well as focusing in on our anchor statement 3, which is assessments. And so that one is a formal all-day where they're going to learn and they're going to be able to use that training as they go forward. And then our final one for the year is May 1st. And that's the day where we always look at our guaranteed viable curriculum, and we look at our essential standards. We go through the state standards and decide based off of our data, have we selected those that we believe are most essential? There's a protocol and criteria that we go through. This will be the 4th year that we've done it as a district, so the teachers are very familiar with what that process looks like. By the end of that day, we make sure that our essential standards or guaranteed and viable curriculum is solidified for the following year. And so whatever they selected on that May 1st is what we go with for the next year, and then we revisit each year. Along with, there's some other like little training, so it basically depends on what's happening. So right now, Ready Math, we brought Ready Math trainers in, and so there was a couple times where we had some additional meetings for the middle school and the elementary, just updating the Ready Math program so that they know how to implement the actual resource itself. And then our intervention team also is kind of doing some professional learning around what title is. We get a lot of title funding, grant funding, to make sure that we are running all of our title schools and that we're complying with TPI. And so they too will sometimes pull them, and they're going to be doing a training on Friday, which is time class. It's an intervention, but it's just again that little small group of intervention teachers. As far as our teaching staff goes, the PD was embedded into our Wednesday during collaboration. So once a month, we meet with they don't have traditional class once a month. Instead, they will learn together. We usually do it within the building setting. So we have a calendar that's all printed out. So it'll say like on this day, this is when the building learning is. The learning is all the same, so across the district, no matter if you're at the middle school, the high school, the elementary, that learning is uniform, so that we're all moving forward together as a district. And so this year, 3 years ago, we created our strategic implementation guide, which is basically our roadmap that talks about PLC. And we've been learning how to function as a high operating PLC since then. So the first year we focused on the fundamentals, which was like, well, why do you have norms? What is an agenda for? What does collaboration look like during the day-to-day? The following year, we focused on guaranteeing viable curriculum, selecting essential standards, unwrapping those standards, having proficiency skills, common pacing, so that again, when you talk about a guaranteed viable curriculum, a student in third grade, no matter if they're at Lawrence, if they're at Miller, if they're at Lemonweir, that they are getting the same education no matter where they are, and that the timing and the pacing is all the same, and that we're saying that these are the things that a third grader walking out of Tomah area school district understands. So that happened last year. And then this year, our focus has really been on assessments. And so each month, we've had different topics where the PD strictly revolves around assessments. In September, it was really the overview of assessments. October was about a balanced assessment and the different kinds of types. Why we use assessments, what kinds of things assessment is going to gather for us. And then in November, we taught teachers about backwards design. So we want to start with the end in mind and plan our instruction from if this is what we want students to know, then let's work our way backwards to the beginning to say, here's what it looks like at the end. We taught them how to align the standards with the DOK task. The DOK is the depth of knowledge. So for example, if you're assessing something and you want a simple recall, right? I say this is a mug, holds water, versus like maybe I'm gonna design this one. So it's depth of knowledge is how the tasks that you want students to perform, and we want to make sure that we're not just asking student surface level things, right? Like this is a paperclip, but like we want them to start thinking about why are paperclips important and how can we design a paperclip to be more efficient. And so there's different things that you do with depth of knowledge to make sure that you're meeting the rigor of the standard. And we talked to you what that looks like. In December, we looked at validity, bias, awareness, and then we again really hit on that depth of knowledge because it is something that is really hard to understand. We talked about creating inclusive and accessible assessments. And then as we move forward into the next season, January, we start to look at student performance. So basically using those assessments to say what is the data showing us? And if 80% of my students didn't get it, that's a me problem, right? Like I need to figure out what I need to do differently and how I can, maybe the strategy that I used to teach that didn't work with these kids. So how do I try a different strategy? Using that data to be able to constantly assess where I'm at and how do we get better with that instruction so that all kids can learn. Because one year you could do it this way and your kids will be masterfully beautiful at it. And the next year you have a totally different group of kids and you could try that same strategy and it doesn't work. And so we have to have a bag of tricks to learn what different strategies are out there that are best practices and that are working so that all students can get what they need. And then in February, we're really going to start digging into how do we analyze data. When we start looking at data, it's not just about like how did our students do, but like if the 3, 4 of us we're teaching the same class and we bring our data and I have 85% of my kids like excelling, but Brian has 90% of his kids excelling. I'm gonna say, Brian, what are you doing? What strategies are you doing? So we're gonna start to look at that data and really then start to glean from our collaborative partners to figure out what strategies are working, or we're gonna say, all right, I have these kids, you have these kids, I seem to be really good at this part, let me take those kids, I'm gonna work on this in the small group, whether it's win time, whether it's flex time, whether it's Timberwolf time, I'm gonna have you take your kids, so we're gonna collaborate together to figure out how can we meet the students and the best needs based on that data, so we're making data to driven decisions. In March, it's talking about, again, data and then student-centered instructional responses. In April, we're looking at engaging in reflection. So as we do something, have we really taken a look at this unit to make sure that each year we can make it better? Like what were the things that worked? What were the things that we need to tweak? What are some misconceptions that students are constantly having? So how do we relook at those misconceptions? Everything that we do is focused on student learning and bringing teachers new learning around our statements, which focus directly on PLC. That's really our overview of professional development for leader.
Thank you. Then moving into for our teachers, we've got representatives here from the different areas, just to talk about what our teachers are attending during the week, what our principals are requiring, and again, just focusing more in on what are those required meetings. You have a lot of great structures for our teachers, for payment, for GCs, our guiding coalitions, et cetera. It's not really talking about those, but more what our principals are asking them to do, what types of PD and when they're being talked about. And just to get a little idea of when that collaboration time is fitting within their schedules. So, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, can we start with Amy Langner at the middle school? Is that okay?
I thought it was on this end, so I thought it was safe, no, just. kidding. So at the middle school, we're talking about meetings, like especially like talking about after school meetings. There are 2 required. They are, I think the first one that we do is usually the second week of the month, and that's our teacher staff meeting, and really that's their professional development. And we kind of tailored that specific to our building goals. So this year, our building goal is learning how to utilize what we call the BELT. I've talked a little bit about it before, but it's the Essential Learning Target Plan. So it's a tool that they use to do a lot around Eager Statement 3. So we just wanted to make sure that our building goal works very nicely and in alignment with the district goal. And then also we do another aspect that we're working on is ensuring that we're following the district goal, which is our report card, right? Like we're above or exceeding expectations. And so we are doing a lot of work around tier 1 best practice. So like if that strategy didn't work, what other strategies can we do? So at that teacher meeting, it's PD around those types of things. Every building goal, every year, we have one tomorrow actually, and it's all focused on that work around one of those goals. Our second meeting is usually the 4th, sometimes the 3rd, depending on the month. And that's an all staff meeting, and we focus on behaviors and safety. So we are asked to always bring up safety at least once a month to a staff and just see, we'll talk about drills, what went well, where are some concerns that we have. And then we talk about behaviors, share data when we have it. That's when we are, again, we're at the middle school, we're using the behavior contract, but that's talking about the 4 C's, right? Like classroom, climate, culture. And so we want to teach about that. It's also about a time where we just talk about our behaviors reflect student behaviors. And so we're starting, what we heard from staff is they really enjoyed some of the learning that happened at the PD at the beginning of the school year. And so now we're bringing some of that back, and how the last one we just had was talking about sometimes we have to drop the rope. So we get like power struggles, we will never win a power struggle. And it was about how we can drop the rope. Like we as the adult have to be the first one to disengage in that power struggle when we find ourselves to be in it, and how we can do that. So we really focus on on those 2. We have other meetings during the month, but those are all voluntary basis. A lot of people that are on our GC now started out maybe volunteering for our RTI academic team, and now they've transitioned to the leadership role in GC. Those are just voluntary. It's not required for any teachers beyond them. And then we do collab. I'm looking at, okay, so in collaboration, we have collaborative teams that are grade level teams. So like, for instance, 8th grade science or 7th grade ELA, right? So there's 2 teachers. They collab 3 times a week for 40 minutes and within the schedule. And that's built within their schedule during the school day. The other 2 times a week, they have a team with their grade level. So 8th grade is a grade level team, so they will meet and they'll meet around students. That's when they bring parents in and have parent meetings, those types of things. 7th grade, 7-1 meets, 7-2 meets, 6-1, 6-2 meets, twice a week, again, within the day. And then departments meet on Wednesdays. So when we have that early release, departments meet. Sometimes it's department level. At the beginning of the year, it was very much department level. They were creating their SMART goals. And like what they wanted to focus in on for the school year as a department. Now it's kind of, they meet as a department, so they have a GC member with them to ask, if they have questions, they can ask and things like that. But they can also collab with the collaborative teams at that time as well. So that is pretty much, I think I covered it all. Did I do that well? Thank you. Okay. That's the middle school.
Okay, so high school perspectives, thank you.
It's lots, right?
It's pretty much the same at the high school, except that we only have one staff meeting after school per month. And then during the staff meeting, we also provide professional development focusing on tier 1 instruction and a lot of the lesson structure to support our teachers on ongoing practices. And then GC, the Guidance Coalition meets twice a month, and that is a small group. We also PBIS team also is a small group, meets twice a month after school, 3:30 to 4:30. Collaborations take times doing the Wednesday and then 2 small groups per week. That is depending on the teacher's schedule. For example, English 11 and 12 they meet on Tuesday at 2 o'clock every Tuesday. And then they also meet with other teams at high school. Some teams have so many teachers in the group where they meet at different time. But there's no requirement to meet after school. That is scheduled during the daytime.
Brian's here to represent the elementary. They do meet as a group and he can give you the elementary perspective.
So we're all aligned in our meetings. So we have 2 staff meetings a month. One is for teaching staff, and each of us use that, and that's from 3:15 until 4 o'clock. And each of us uses that as PD for our school improvement plan. So I can specifically say for us at Leavenworth, we're working on engagement learning targets. We did a deep dive on some educator effectiveness things. Other buildings are working on other things during that time with their staff that it aligns with what their school improvement plan is. That second one a month is for all staff. And that includes support staff, they're paid for that. So again, 3:15 till 4 o'clock each day. And all of us do something with PBIS behavior safety for that. So I can specifically speak for my group. We review our monthly behavior data, and then we give next steps on to how to, attack is the wrong word, but how to work on those deficits that we had. So we had a lot of situations where kids were being physical or kids were being eloping. What are some things that we can do to address that? So that's the second one a month. Now I have a little caveat, that's on the calendar, but in reality, September we had 2, October we had 1 because we had teacher conferences. November we had 1 and the second one was canceled because it was right before Thanksgiving break. December we had 1 scheduled, but we had a snow day, and the second one was right before break. So in totality, we've had 4 staff meetings because of the breaks and those sort of things. So when I come back to share our SIP with you, don't hold that against me, right? Like that's some of our PD that we just haven't, we're not where we want to be. In terms of collab, teachers collab, they have 45 minutes during a 6-day cycle that they work with their grade level colleague. And then the other time that they do, that's during the school day, during their common practice. The other time during the week are those Wednesdays. So from 2:30 until 3:45, they're collabing with their grade level team. So 1 Wednesday a month, they are not because they're at the high school or doing some other training with us. Other meetings that we might have, each building has It's called Mentor or a bit. It's basically a behavior solving team or an instructional solving team. And it's a small group of people, like use my idle staff, and we do that once a month. And it's during contract time, 3:15 to 3:45 is when we meet once a month. We do have a district-wide PBIS team for elementary that meets once a month at district office here. And I believe that is 3:30 to 4:30 or 3:15 to 4:15, something like that. And that's a small group of people, school sites, PBIS coaches and those sort of things. And I believe that is all we have for meetings at the building level. We have, each building also has a small PBIS team. Like I have 4 people on my team that we meet once a month, for 45 minutes after school.
I think these are great questions. Thank you for a brief summary. And if there's any feedback from the board, we'd like to learn more about any particular area, we're happy to take a look at another time to provide deeper review.
I did have one question, all the focuses were, okay, were the students getting it? How about the teachers? How do we,
Yeah,
okay,
that's the GC meetings, right? So like when the GC needs, data, the focus is, right, we're doing the PLC process, but we're doing it for the staff. So we create like with our building goal, right? Like we have data collections in different ways. So we're tracking their belts and things like that. And then we're just using that data to decide where we go. So we create a plan at the beginning of the year. And I can tell at my school, the plan has changed and shifted to that's not what kids, what the teachers are showing what they need. So that happens in GC meetings.
And it does in the elementary as well. Like for instance, tomorrow I have a GC meeting and it is not only looking at our school improvement plan, but then what are we doing for the next staff meeting? They create that PD for the staff. It's not just us directing it, it is how it is aligned with that building goal.
wonderful, that's what I wanted to hear, because you can establish a plan for the entire year, but you have to be willing to change and modify, not just to meet that criteria or the goal, or say we met 4 times or 3 times, it's about the effectiveness, right? So, good.
When we created the twice a month, we didn't look at that most of our breaks come on Wednesday this year. So Brian wouldn't be a really great supervisor if right before Christmas break on the 23rd, we decided to keep everybody for a staff meeting. Right? So we have had some investments because we thought we were at this point, we'd be at about 7 staff meetings and we're at 4. So we do have to adjust. Absolutely.
Our high school GCT plan, every time we eat, we plan for adult students. All the time, it's all professional development for our teachers. And they'll be coming here soon to share with you what they do.
And then Mike had talked about the meeting that I lead, and that is the same thing, but I lead it with the principals. So how do the principals get that knowledge to be able to take it back to their staff, right? It's all, everything is tied and connected, and it all flows to the same goal, the same purpose. And it's very structured and organized, and you can see how they feed off of one another. But we have to be learning as adults, right, to impact students, and that's the focus of a PLC. It's adult learning, that's what it's about.
Yeah, because that's what I was getting at. I remember yes, I've got it. I'm not quite sure. No, I don't think I have it. I was just trying to see how we utilize that with the staff as well, not just the students.
And today at our PBS, we also talk about how do we provide direct support to our teachers so that the positive behavior that we like to see are built, connected to academic success. And because too many times we don't see that connection, it's like, oh, students behave well here, but why did they achieve academically? So we talk about how to make that bridge so that teachers can also see why when you have great relationships with students, how does that really impact learning in the classroom? So we are building closer and closer to that environment. It's going well, I think.
I just want to know, are you seeing a change in the teacher's behavior and a change in the teaching with using teaching strategies? Are you seeing the strategies that you're implementing from the district office down through the principals, down to the teachers? Are you seeing those strategies faithfully with integrity being implemented into the classrooms? And are the teachers able to see the change? Or are they just going through the motions? How do you know that they got it? Definitely got it.
Yeah, one of the things that, and I can speak for PBS, because we're a little bit further along than some of the things that we're doing with our SIP, is measuring that adult learning, right? Like we say we're going to do it, we can't directly impact, or we can't, if Chai is a student, we can teach him all the way along and then hope for the best, right? We're doing assessments along the way, but ultimately it's up to his taking of the test or whatever to be successful. So what we look at is how do we measure the adults? If this is the strategy that we are requesting or we are requiring our staff and teaching our staff, how do we measure that? I can speak for me that at the beginning of the year for PBIS, it was, we spent a lot of time about cultivating respectful and responsible classrooms. How do you do that? You greet kids at the door. So we go around and we did walkthrough data on how frequently were teachers actually greeting kids at the door as opposed to being in the classroom. So that's the tricky part, is going into and doing those walkthroughs and finding what is tight. We have our next staff meeting is all about learning targets. And one of the things with my GC, we haven't gone to leadership lab yet, power yet. But really grappling with is how do we have that adult measure? So I keep saying, they keep hearing Brian broken record saying, okay, what's gonna be tight? And when we go through a classroom, what are we gonna be expecting to see? Because that is it, that we wanna have is that integrity piece. If we know this is a very, very impactful strategy, we're not just gonna offer a buffet and say, use it if you want. We're gonna say, we want you to use it and we're gonna support you along the way.
I want to know, is that translating to academics? Is that at the high school, at the junior high? Is it translating into academics? Because, granted, we have these behaviors that we've been working on that for 3 years or however long I've been on the board. So now I want to know academics, because that, we only have this moment, this precious moment with each student. And each moment makes a difference in a child's life and in their academic challenge to get through high school. So I want to know, is every little minute being used? And I want to know if you guys are going out, about what percentage of your day is spent in the classrooms, in the hallways, and things like that, to make sure that these strategies are being used.
Yeah, it takes time to really incorporating strategies that can be enforced throughout the building. Being new here, I came with high expectations that we're gonna do that, and then we are doing it somehow. If you talk to many teachers, they'll tell you that I'm being kind of bad because I'm really enforcing that expectations. Well, we do still have some areas that we need to be more consistent. And when I say we, I think about, if you think about 5 teachers are not consistent, we are impacting how many students a day, right? And so at the high school, we are really working on it. This morning, I had a very strong meeting with my principals about how to make sure that we are in the classroom every day. And I came with, after the winter break, that I spent a lot of time reading. I came with a plan that we will schedule you to go to this classroom every week, and I will go to this one, and then it's kind of new to some It's not new to me, but it's kind of new to some, but I think we are making a plan to make sure that we cannot just assume that there will be integrity, we'll make sure that it happens in the classroom. For lesson planning, our guided coalition team has been in the classroom to collect information, collect data. So for example, in our building, our teachers must have their learning objectives. They must provide the 4 areas that we ask them to do, and how do we do together, how do students do it by themselves. And so we in the classroom collect those information, and every classroom teacher knows that we will watch. Again, we are not totally there yet, but we are on the way.
And then use the data, so if we find that a teacher isn't there, then we support them, and that includes like sending instructional coaches in to make sure that some of it is just, they don't know how, right? And so when we collect the data by the walkthrough tools and obviously PE, the big, huge part of PE is that principals are in there, we connected all the things that we're doing to EE, so what we're collecting coincides. But if we find that a teacher isn't where we'd like them to be, then we find, how can we support you? What does that look like? Does that look like in a collaborative team? How do we pair you? How do we put a GC person with you? How do we bring you instructional coaching? What are the things that we can provide so that we can show you what it looks like? We've even had instructional coaches, they'll go up and model what it looks like so that a teacher can learn. We've offered, if a teacher is struggling with something, if you wanna go, hey, Amy Langer does this really well, I'll sub for you, you can go and watch her. So there's all kinds of strategies then that we use to support the teachers if the data that we're getting is showing that they're not meeting the expectations of where we'd like to see them.
And I can talk about the middle school, because I think one of the things that we also do is like, doing lesson plans the old school way was good, but getting into collaborative meetings and having, like, hearing what they're planning and how they're working, and then going into the classroom to see it being executed. So I do something a little different. I get like the new teachers at the middle school, year 1 or 2, like I've already been and I've observed them at least twice, like formally, right? And then we have meetings and I provide feedback and next steps. But that's only I've been in there. I think, but being able to be in their collaborative meeting and seeing what the plan is, and then when I go in, what I try to do is I try to see one of them, and then the next hour go see the other. And they shouldn't be lock-in set, like, you shouldn't be teaching the exact same way, because there's an art to teaching. But at the same time, are they doing what they've agreed to do? Like, what they've reached consensus about? It has been very exciting, just when you talk about tier 1 and you're talking about the 4, like, the I do, we do, you do. With middle schoolers, you have to be, right? Like, you can't lecture. And that's been something that's been really fun to watch. We've been working on this for a while. And I like the first round of observations that I did, and we both came back together and we're like, wow, the amount of not lecture time, you know what I mean? Like, where the kids are talking with each other, where the kids are doing, and the teachers are just kind of there coaching around them and like facilitating, it has increased dramatically. Percentage wise, I would easily say, there's still some teachers, it's not gonna ever be 100%. I want it to be. We're almost there, right? I would at least 75% of the teachers are consistently doing things to show that they are learning what we're giving them in PD and applying it in their classroom. So,
In terms of elementary, not making excuses, it's hard to get into a classroom as much as we want. It's just us. And so today I had 4 attendance meetings. I had 1 parent pop in. I had 3 other parents that I had to contact, and I subbed for an hour and a half working. So I was not in a classroom at all. And that's just.
But yet you were.
You were.
But, well, I
You
was,
were.
I tell you what, a girl who did it out of there too. Girl who did it out. But.
You're
yeah,
lying.
But, that's kid stuff, right? And that is super, super important. Equally important is what you guys are all alluding to is our relationship with adults. And I want to have a relationship with kids, and I need to have a relationship with kids, but I have to have a relationship and a collegial work with my teachers. And if I don't have that, if I'm just running around solving individual problems, you know, we're not going anywhere as a building, and that's what's hard sometimes, at an elementary level is being able to do that. And I'm not saying it's all behavior stuff, like a lot of our stuff is human resources too, doing that subbing. And when you have a couple people that, you know, that life happens, right? That's us. And, so I'm in the classroom and, you know, I was doing some great, log rolls and other things. Well, in fact, that's case over here was, you know,
Katie, do you have someone?
Can I go first before, because I feel like they're gonna. Yeah, gonna what? You're the one that put this on the agenda. I just have a quick question, like, do you guys collect any sort of, student feedback? Like on your teachers at all, like kind of like maybe even informal conversations in the hallway where you kind of gain insight of like, oh yeah, you know, we like going to this class because that teacher's like really easy. She doesn't make us really do anything. Do you take a look at attendance patterns for specific classrooms, you know, to see like where your kids are, you know, kind of skipping out, ditching, especially at the middle school level, that we had talked about previously. So I guess that's where I was kind of going with that. I was wondering, do we have any sort of informal kind of process that you guys are using for that?
Yeah, if you read my communication this morning, you would see that. I, since September, have been meeting with our schools of the past, our school leaders, in the cafeterias to students. And I put together some information and I sent it out this morning to the hosts, field exam, to let them know how our students have felt.
Right.
And I was very honest with my principals team too, because they mentioned not just the teachers, but principals as well. They talk about how difficult it is to come to school when principals don't say hi to them. They talk about difficult classrooms that they don't want to go to. Teachers don't even mention the names or talk about them at all. And before the break, I had a big group in the office and talk about celebrations and all the things that went well with those students. Again, they brought up very clearly that they have, and those are the best students. And so it's very difficult for our classmates, it's very difficult to go to some classroom. They even mentioned one thing like, for example, you know, when you came to that classroom, they point out to the teacher, and then we saw different things after that. So we want to see more of you in the classroom. And that's why this morning I was telling my team that you cannot just wait to react tomorrow. We're gonna schedule and I'm gonna be specific with something of this classroom that each one of us is gonna be in those classrooms how many days per week. So yes, we do listen and I spend time to understand the students' needs.
Yeah, I would say in middle school, they offer that information freely at any time they can. And that, I think that's.
But it helps for inspecting the expectation of what you guys are trying to do, right?
And patterns do come, right? Like there are patterns and then honestly, like I didn't make it into the classrooms today because I was investigating some information that a student brought to my attention. So, and it took a while, it took a very long time. Like, but patterns emerge and conversations are had and sometimes that creates hard conversations that just unfortunately have to happen.
I guess that's my next question of, I'm again, new to the board and all that kind of stuff. What is the review process for teachers? Like, do you guys do quarterly reviews of your teachers? Do you do it, you know, just like a semester or, you know, like kind of what is that structure? Especially if you are expecting the expectation, you're trying to get into the classrooms, all that kind of stuff. You're providing the feedback, you're giving them the curriculum, you're going through those steps. So I'm guessing, I'm asking, you know, how often is that feedback getting into a formal review process with that teacher? So, I mean, they understand, like you guys have exhausted, you know, all 7, 8, 9 steps, whatever you have in place, right? And there's going to be repercussions.
So we have the cycle of observation, right? The formal observation cycle.
Right.
With so in my group, and at the high school, I told them, I'm coming to your house anyway. It doesn't have to be just your cycle. The teachers that I have to observe, or the three of us have to observe, we schedule time with them, we go to that, but every classroom. We don't spend time to get to know them, to get to see what's happening in the classroom. And from the beginning, I told my teachers that you're gonna see me a lot in the classroom. Just do your best the way that you should be. And if I should have some information that I really need to sit down with you, I'll let you know. Otherwise, I'll always provide short feedback to them what I saw. And so, even though it's not a formal cycle, it is a part of the ongoing observation.
I think to add to that, so like the EE process is very much more like a coaching tool, if you will, where not so much an evaluative anymore, but obviously we have policy and procedure, like when you have to have really hard conversations, and there is a step, the
Documentation
conversation
steps.
first, document the conversation, then possibly a letter of reprimand, like there's like steps, and I think we've all done this before, but unfortunately, there are, so yes, it is through EE and doing coaching and like with them, and sometimes unfortunately it has to take more of a policy procedure route, sadly.
Thank you. Now you can, the floor is yours.
Do you have anything?
I just have one comment. I'm hearing it.
It's all good.
Somehow I'm hearing it, but anyway, it sounds like our copy machines are an issue. Meaning we're out of ink, we don't have ink. They left at Christmas break, there was no ink. They came back today, there was no ink till later today. We've got to fix it. So whether you guys are getting that back to Michelle or whatever, I don't know, but they only get so much time to prep, and they only get so much time to get things done, and if we don't have the equipment that they need to get it done, we gotta fix it. And if this company that we bought the machines or got them from can't handle it, well, then we gotta go find somebody that can, because we can't put the teachers in that predicament when they're trying to teach class and get things done, and sometimes you don't get to the copy machine because you're subbing in your time off and those kinds of things too, so. I've talked to Michelle about it once before, but obviously it's not fixed yet, so.
I thought we had-
Whatever the disconnect is, I don't know
Well, can
how it gets fixed, but.
That was my copy machine, I guarantee it, but, because I know we were,
Well-
that was our situation, and there was, what happened was, it wasn't the people, it wasn't the company, it was shipped, and everything goes to the bus garage, and over break, people took vacation, and so it wasn't brought to the middle school, the ink wasn't brought, it was brought before the end of the day, like, obviously, but there are procedures and policies, and today's the first time it's been an issue for a while, at least to my knowledge. Nobody has brought me.
What we gotta understand is that's just the frustration that the teachers are having, and that creates animosity or whatever, it just creates problems, so we gotta, somehow we've gotta, I had talked to Michelle about, do we have an extra cartridge sitting somewhere that, so that everybody's got one in case something goes out and that, but, I don't know how it all works, cause somehow they wanna control how much ink you get to use and all that kind of stuff too, if I understand it right. Not you guys, the company with the machine or whatever, but, we can't have them not have the machinery that they need to get their jobs done too, so.
Need your tools
It's
and.
very important. I think it's both ways, right? We sometimes have problems with things like that, but at the same time, as a new person in the school district, I see that we could be more efficient, train ourselves to be more efficient at using our resources and be quicker at doing things. And some of the activities, the things that we do can be faster than we should be. And it's like the high school is I'm learning about it, and I'm trying to change some of the status quo that has been there for too long that I think need to be upgraded. When I say upgraded, I mean we have to be more efficient at what we're doing. We cannot rely on one thing and it's that thing is not working and we stick to that. We have to be creative and be willing to do different things. So for example, if I don't have paper, what do? I have technology, we have other things that we could do. That's why we need to prepare for the week, not just prepare once and for all. We have to be ready for those things. And so becoming more efficient, it's one way to improve.
I'll buy that somewhat, but you know, we need the machine, we need to get it fixed and solve the issue, because I mean, I gotta believe it's more than one teacher that's having issues with that copy machine. And that just adds all of the negativity and all of that going in the halls and talking and everything else, so we gotta get it fixed. And again, I don't know what the, you know, the ink issue is, or, you know, why, okay, so it's at the bus garage, but how do we get that fixed? You know, that we're not struggling to not have those machines working, so.
Okay, you're up.
All right. So the reason I asked for this to be put on, so I'm gonna give you a little background. I wear many, many hats. So as everything that I do in my life, I hear a lot of things that happen in the school district through a lot of people at all different levels throughout the district. So one of the feedback that I received from several individuals was that there was actually several teachers that they did not feel that they had the support from the principals. And this is not like to bash anyone or like, it goes back to the systems, right? Like at my clinic, I just had to do a complete rehaul to make sure that my team felt supported. So this is why I'm thinking about this. But because if the principals are being pulled out, right, for meetings, if there's not an agenda, if there's not organization, if there's not structure, if the PDs are not relevant to targeting those behaviors, those academics, then we're pulling the principals from the classrooms, right? Does that make sense? So that's where my concern comes up, is when I hear, so one question I have is, you know, I heard support mentioned several times tonight, and that kind of seems to be the theme of my life lately, but the support portion, that came up in several conversations that I've had with individuals too. So when a teacher, let's say a teacher is having to deal with a severe behavior of a student, and they have a room full of students, what's the procedure?
You wanna know, at the
Yep.
middle school,
Yeah.
they can call, they can radio for help, or they can send them out of the room to the attic room.
Okay.
So they can send them out, and then we meet up with them in the attic room, they can call. There was some issues with phones at the middle school at one point, so I created like here's what you do, like, send them out, if they refuse to go out, call these numbers, start here, and just use these numbers, dial down, and then all of our support staff have walkies, and so if there's a support staff in your hallway, you know where they are, because they have their schedules, like, go grab them, get them on the walkie, we have our walkies, so that's the procedure at the middle school.
Okay.
It's very similar in the high school. For basic steps, teachers talk to students, call home, and then write a referral if not immediate needed. If teacher has an immediate needed for support, they call the office and we send somebody over to take the students. I've been in the classroom, they call, and I walk the students out, have a conversation with the students. If the situation is bad enough that I need to put the students out in Alex's room for the day or for the hours, or even contact parents for meetings after that. So it depends on what we investigate, what information we collect. Most of the time, the students will get at least a detention or in the Alex room for a couple hours, and have a parent meeting after that. So it's been, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. The one that it sounds like emergency, And I ran to the classroom. It was the students who just refused to say a word. And I say, let's walk with me. I need to have a conversation with you. Sure, come. And so I had a conversation with the teachers about what strategy do we need to help you with. Because when I walk into your classroom, I walk to students and just tap on the shoulder and say, have a talk, let's go. And the students say, sure, walk. So it's some kind of personality clash in there, right? You can see that, but not bad at all.
Elementary wise, it depends on who the student is. If there is a student that has an IEP, it would be the case manager would be the first call. Second call in some buildings, not all, would be a PBIS coach to come and de-escalate. I can speak for myself and Justine at Miller, we don't have PBIS coaches. So it's a call to the office. If I'm available, if Justine is available, it would be one of us. If we're not available, it would likely either be the secretary or another support staff from special ed that would go down and help either vacate the classroom or de-escalate. And then when I am back or when I am done doing whatever I am doing, because invariably these things happen when we are in a classroom or meeting with a parent or on the phone, then it's usually dealt with at that point when we have the time.
So are all of those people that are going into the classroom with supports, are they all CPI trained? You mentioned the secretary.
Secretaries, I don't know that they are. I don't know that they are. We do spend a vast amount of time in the PBIS. In fact, we did at the beginning of the year on how to de-escalate, because that is, if you know, you're trained, right? There's a reason why the restraints are only done for an hour, hour and a half, because that, not best practice. So, usually we spend with all of our people, because we know they're not all trained, some de-escalation strategies on how to de-escalate. Sometimes, and I think Amy said it, sometimes it's dropping the rope and you just have to be ready for when the child is ready. And you can't escalate by trying to go on your time frame. So, yes.
So, so going back to the support, right? So thinking about how there's a hierarchy, and there's a hierarchy for a reason. So you say how you're going into the classroom, not necessarily to support the students, because that's the teacher is with them all the time, right? So you're there to support the teacher, to model for the teacher, so that the teacher can work with the student, right? Is that
Or
right?
sometimes it's we're getting the student out of the situation,
No,
so
yeah.
others can learn, and the teacher can, and I think you're talking about really severe behaviors, right? Like
Well, I'm
severe-
talking about just in general, like too.
Yeah.
So like
Okay.
if a teacher is having a hard time, so here's what I'm trying to get at. Is I've heard that principals are not in the classroom. Now, obviously, this is not across the board. This is the people that I've talked to, right? But having that relationship, that rapport with the teachers, so that the teachers feel comfortable coming when there's an issue, right? So actually what Rick said went perfect with it, because if the teachers are out in the hallway talking about, all the negative things that are happening versus do they feel comfortable enough to go to you and be like, hey, this is what's happening, I need help with this, right? So open door policy, protect your time, but open door policy, like, do they feel comfortable to be like, hey, I'm really struggling with teaching this topic, or I'm really struggling with this kiddo with this behavior, I need help. Teachers aren't gonna do that unless they feel comfortable, right? Just like a student's not gonna open up to a teacher if they don't feel comfortable. So little Johnny is having all of these behaviors, he can't learn, he's disrupting the learning. Is anyone going in and talking to Johnny and being like, what's going on, Johnny? What's going on in your life? How can I help you? How can I support you, right? Because little Johnny might be having a lot of issues at home, trauma, we talk about being present at school, like if we could just get the kids to school, well, maybe Johnny's mom wasn't home because because she was out doing whatever. Maybe Johnny's mom works 3 jobs. Well, maybe that's why Johnny's having a hard time, right? So like, are we helping the teachers understand how to build that rapport with the kids? Do we have enough supports in the schools that we can have them, right? You guys are busy, teachers are busy, you all have your thing. Do we have that person that teacher can call without having to go through a list of numbers and be like, hey, Johnny's having a really tough time, I'm trying to teach this class, can you come talk to him? Now, instead of just taking him to the ALEC room, are we talking to Johnny and figuring out what is going on with Johnny? Why is he having a hard time?
And the ALEC room, that is what it is. The ALEC room is that person, where then they, like, I know middle school has a whole, like, a work it out sheet, and like, where they are talking with the kid and de-escalating, and that, we get them there so that they can have that time with a person in a designated area. And knowing that schools are so big, you might have, the reason there's a room and not just one person, there might be 4 having that same issue,
Right.
and so that room is there so that they can go down there and that person can work with them. That's the whole purpose of it, so that the teachers can continue to teach for the rest of the students, and that it doesn't disrupt them.
Okay, so they're not just getting sent to the ALEC room and like doing
No.
their work in the ALEC room.
No, and
like,
then a lot of the times they'll, they'll put a referral in, so then Amy or Jared or I will then bring the kids in. And that's half of what we're doing during the day is like having those conversations with kids, like, and it's sad and it's scary what you hear them say, like what they came from, right? And so then it morphs into what supports. So it's like this web, right? Like it's when they're trying to, unfortunately at the middle school, and I can assume at your school too, like there can't be just one designated person, because there are lots of, sometimes multiple fires burning at one time. But that is Jared most of the time, that's Amy next, it's me next, it's counselors, you know what I mean? So it's definitely going back to your question about the training, like the person goes and kind of assesses. So if we realize like there's a kid here who we probably, for his or her own safety, need to like put into a hold, then it's a walkie of like, we need certain people up here. And so, yeah, it's only the people who are trained are doing that, but that's very rare.
I want to say about the comfort zone between teachers and principals. I think at the high school we are coming along well. I have not heard one single teacher told me that they don't want to talk to me. And I think because I take my time to be in some of those classrooms, I know that when I learn about one classroom that need to be in because some histories, I spend time in those classrooms. Even in the morning, I intentionally walk into those classrooms just to say hi, do that. And so I feel very comfortable that they have come to me a lot. Unfortunately, they wanted everything fixed right away that I could not do that right away for them. It takes time, for example, I said to a teacher that if I just do everything that you ask me to do, it sounds like to a student that I'm taking away power from you. I do not want to take your power away from your classroom so that students can see that every time I walk in, I will take care of the classroom for you. When I coach the teachers about what to do next, how to do it, and at a high school, I'd say 95% of our students will come to the office anyway without the teachers. When there's an issue in the classroom, teachers are always say, oh, you can go to the office and see your counselors. And most of the time, they'll come to the counselors first to have conversation with them, and then we'll talk about the next step.
Yeah, I guess, and that's kind of my thing is, I mean, as a board, we don't necessarily know all of these things that are going on, right? Because we're not in the school district, so then I hear things or like, like I look at things very differently. So then my questions start to become, what is happening in the schools to address these things? Because regardless of what anyone says, that support is crucial, right? The support that the teachers have with the principals, so that when the principals do come into the classrooms, and again, I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to call anyone out or anything. But when the principals do come in, I feel like this is a lot with my team too, is when I come in, they're like, oh crap, she's here, she's gonna tell us everything we're doing wrong, and trying to make it I'm here to help you be better, and so let me tell you what you're doing right, and then let me help teach you how to do the rest, right? That's kind of like the principal's position. And so that's kind of where I was trying to get at, is how that's happening, because I don't know. I only know what I hear, and so if the principals are at meetings and not in the classrooms, then are the teachers getting that support? And then we have such a high rate of burnout. Is it because they're not getting that support? Is it because there's too many meetings? Is it because, why?
I think we need to also characterize what is a meeting. As I said, and I know I had a teacher last year said, boy, your door is shut a lot. Well, my office door is right near the ice pack machine. And if you know anything about elementary kids, that's like the placebo, right? Like everything, you know, hey, I got a bruise here. How about an ice pack? You know, everything gets an ice pack. So this morning, I said I had 5 attendance meetings. So when I wasn't subbing, the vast majority of the time, my door was either entirely closed or most of the time closed, because kids are flying through there all the time. Hey, Mr. O, how's it going? And I'm on the phone, and it's like, you know, kids come in and give me a hug while I'm on the phone, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? So, you know, I think people see those that we're at a meeting. I call those meetings. It's a parent meeting, right? Or if I call, I had 4 other calls to parents today. It wasn't a scheduled meeting, but it was a meeting on the phone that took some time. So there are a lot. I can speak from an elementary. Again, it's our job, right? But everything falls on us to do that, is to make those calls and to do that. So on any given day, from an elementary, it might be, you know, 6 parent calls to, there've been over 12 in a day. And that's not a 5-minute, hey, how's it going? You know, not. So there are a lot of those, or the question about meeting with, or observations. When you do observations, then sitting down with a teacher after that to meet with them and coach them. So there are a lot of those. I mean, if you look at our calendars, they might be full, but it's mostly teacher meeting, kid meetings. You know, I know when I've done the academies, like, that's a time that I can't be pulled out of things, because unless, you know, blood greater than a gallon, or, you know, some other things, because it would never get done. There's things that we just have to, from the systems, like, we need to be in it to win it, unless things are off the rails, to help support this. So I can see where people would say there are a lot of meetings, because our day is very adult focused. But when it's not, you know, when we're not doing that, then we are out in the
I had a
hallways
teacher,
playing.
who said, every time I'm available, you are not. And I say, put it on the calendar, you know. Rebecca has it, my calendar, just put it in there, because the time you are available is your colleagues also available, and they are there first with these, the open-door policy, right?
Yep.
Who comes first, what do you do, what do you talk with? And so things like that happen. So I explained to them, sorry, just not working for you this time. You need to put it on the calendar.
Right.
So that I can make sure that you have time. You know?
And that's what I mean by an open door policy. I don't mean like they come to your office whenever they but like
them
being
to come.
able to know that they can
Right.
contact you and make that appointment with you. But the meetings, that was, and I get that, but the other part of this is, do you guys have the support that you need to be doing what you're needing to do? Right? So like we talk about the kids having support from the teachers, we talk about the teachers having the support from the principals. What support do the principals have? you guys have the support you need? Do you need to make all the attendance calls? I don't know what that entails. I'm assuming kids, tardies, all those things. Is that something that someone else can do so that you can be in the classroom helping teachers? So that's what it all keeps going.
And it is hard, right? It's hard, because sometimes keeping that dashboard, keeping what's important, and it's, because it's all important. And I think once we get, we're so into systems, once we get these systems, again, you hear a lot about PBIs and structures, when we get our collaborative teams going, like, we're gonna hit the ground run. It'll be great. Right now, it's some days your job is like that too, everybody is, and, you know.
I truly appreciate your question and you
Yeah.
asked about that. For sure, if we can, but we also understand the limited of resources that we have as a school district. And for me, I always look for way to improve my efficiency. How do I do things faster, smarter? My colleagues ask me, how do you get all these observations done? I usually have time to go to the classroom. I say sometimes I spend overnight nights to do. When I need to get it done, I get it done because I want to make sure that my feedback is provided the next day, no later than a day. And so when I did 3-4 observations per day, I would spend 3-4 hours a night to get it done. And that is the job that we decided to do. Yeah. So we just have to be more, work smarter than work harder sometimes.
The efficiency of the systems. I think that's kind of what it boils down to is.
I just, when you asked that, my first thought was, I just wish that I said to my colleagues at the high school too, I just wish that we all come here having that mindset of, we are learners, and we're gonna learn together. That's all I asked them to do. Mistakes or not, just come with a mindset that I will learn. If I make a mistake, I will listen and I will learn again. That's all I asked them to do.
I do that to my team, just be careful, because I told that to my team, that I know that I'm not perfect, so if I do something, you can tell me. And now they call me out on everything, so just be careful what you say.
He's gonna be a good coach here, by doing that.
But I think it's also just going on that is like the biggest thing in striving for positive intent, right? Like I am always second guessing myself, like, am I assuming positive intent? Because I don't believe there's any teacher, any person working in our district who is here to hurt anybody. Like, I do not believe that. And so, like, my preach is like, we need to assume positive intensity. This job is hard, many jobs are hard, but this job is hard, and it requires a lot. But as long as we can like support each other and just always assume that when something isn't working to plan, there's a reason behind it, or that it was, I make mistakes, and I tell them, I make mistakes all the time. Just know that it wasn't out to get you. Like, I wasn't purposely trying to not meet with you. I already had a meeting, or like that type of thing. Just always assuming the positive in every person around, because we're all in this together. Now, I don't need all I need is an office and a phone, probably to answer parent phone calls and time with teachers and kids, and I'd be happy. And I have all those things, so I'm good.
Sue, do you have a quick comment or something?
Just a quick comment, not to, it's going on a long time. I mean, you guys are all busy, principals are all busy, and I guess I'm speaking mostly addressing from the middle school standpoint, because that's what I'm most familiar with. When you have all of those meetings and it would be nice if between you and Amy and Jared, that one of you is there when something happens and that you're not all at meetings and absent. That has happened. And somebody needs help and there's everybody's gone. So just kind of be aware of that, please.
For now.
All right,
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys.
It's been a long time on
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
very important stuff. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts. We'll, okay. I'm gonna move along.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump down to 7. In case you're Carolina's just from out of town and stuff, so we'll jump down to that, just in case she might, get where she needs to be. So we're gonna move down to number 7, which is meeting with the service consultants from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, our WASB, to discuss and make some decisions regarding the recruitment, search, the selection, and contracting process that the board intends to use for hiring a new superintendent for the district. Do you want like a table or something, or?
Well, are these guys here though for something on the agenda?
No.
Cause I'm good.
No.
Okay,
Maybe, but not, not to speak or anything.
okay.
Do you want to take a seat, or do you want a table brought up, or
You can just
I'll
come sit
just
right
pull.
next to Rick.
you can sit where Michelle usually, if you want,
I'll just pull up
if you want it,
the
you can sit where
chair
Michelle usually does, or we
I was
can.
gonna say, you can take my table, I can move
I'll just pull
next
up
to
a
Rick.
chair and we'll make it all work.
Okay.
So, let's get hand these out though. I'm very happy to see you have your binders. Well, I got your cover, didn't I?
Oh, you did,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
I hear you twice.
I feel like that would be
Find one or the other.
me. I can't find anything
Yep.
ever.
There you go. There you go. Yep. Well, that'll work. Okay. And then I'm gonna spare one. All right. Thank you. There we go. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, first of all, I'm excited to be back. We've get started, get this going. So, a couple of things we do need to for sure finish tonight. And then we'll just see how much time you wanna spend on some things, and there's some things we can maybe do, alter a little bit. But, I do have in the binders, on one side is a, kind of a memo that outlines everything, the different steps that we're gonna do, which for tonight, you know, you can read through that later, but it just gives a nice summary, so you can just keep it in your folder of all the different steps, and you can kind of check up as we go. But right behind it is a worksheet for tonight. And we'll get as far as we get tonight, and, yeah. Yeah. Get as far as we get tonight, and then we'll just continue on. So these are kind of in the order of the things that we need to do. So the big thing tonight is the calendar. So we're gonna start with that. Then we're gonna talk about how you'd like to get information in terms of building what your next superintendent, what you're looking for, and how you'd like to go about getting input from other people. So that'll be the second thing we do. Third thing is gonna talk about how you wanna handle the survey. Then I think we'll take a little break and assess where we're at for time. Okay, so if we can get through A, B, C, and then we'll go from there. So just kinda wanted to give you a concept of where we're headed. Because sometimes honestly, the calendar is the thing that takes the longest. So hopefully, everybody's kinda got your stuff. I did give you, on the other side of your folder, a revised calendar with some dates in it that may or may not work, but at least, again, I started from the March board meeting with the hope and the intent of possibly being about that meeting to select and offer the contract, and I worked backwards. But this isn't completely set in stone. If we get into a spot here where, oops, we just can't have all the board members get together, we'll work it out, okay? So that's the first thing I'd like to start with, is looking at that calendar. So I'm excited, I was hoping that you would get these binders. We're gonna walk through those a little later too, but the calendar is kind of number one priority tonight. Planning meeting is tonight then. My goal would be, based on, things tonight, is on Friday to get the announcement out, so that it's spread out and goes through all of our channels and our websites and our links and all those things that we talked about when I was here before. Get get that out, so it's kind of a, hey, Tomah has an opening. Be watching, here's some basic information about the district, just enough to get people like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting to me, that might be a good fit for me, but mostly getting the information out that you have an opening. There's a little bit of help that the district, someone in the district office, and I'll talk to Mike, I brought the form tonight, just some basic things, what's your budget, how many buildings do you have, how many students, how many staff, just to give that basic demographic kind of description of your district. If we can get that together in the next couple days, then we can get that vacancy notice out on Friday. So, that I will take care of. Community
Just so
survey.
you know, I have that, so it was sent to me too, so I'm gonna have to
Yep.
look at it as well, so it's not just Mike.
Yep.
So,
And there's stuff on there, yep,
there's that, what she just said,
Yep.
the generic stuff, so make sure like, for like.
yep, because
how
on,
many students and things like that, and things that we have in the area and stuff, so.
Demographic.
So it's more than just his eyes, so I
Yep.
have it and stuff
Yep.
too, so.
and the other piece that you as a board will get to see the final piece too. But there's like 18 questions, I think, on that form. The first 11 are kind of the key ones that have to go, that bare structure thing to go. Then there are questions about, what are some highlights of your district? Have you had referendums? What are some really positive, great things about your district that you'd like to share? And I've got a couple samples of some brochures here so you can see what the full-blown thing would look like. This one that'll be this Friday will just be a few things. So yes, you got that email and Mike, did someone in your office or did you?
Sheila at our district
Okay.
office, is the one that got it first,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, Sheila, I was gonna be primary contact as
Yeah,
well.
okay, that'd be great. So we'll be working to get that information then. It's just kind of a plug-in
Okay.
numbers, so, okay. So that is the
Is
first
there a
big
reason
step.
why you don't send that to every one of us? Because
Because it will take forever when we get a whole bunch of people and it's very generic stuff. It's like, did you have a referendum, did it pass, did you not have a referendum, did you not pass, so it's very generic. It's not any kind of biases, it's just a lot of, like she said, a lot of plug-in, simple stuff.
okay.
I have a sample
Because
of it here. I can
if
find
there's
it.
something that we need to be making a decision on, I need to have more than
You'll get
just sitting here.
Yeah, no, you'll get it. Here, I got it. This is, and you can pass
If
these
it's
around.
plug and chug, I mean, that's one thing.
It's exactly what it is. I'll start this one here. It's a plug. And typically, the board president, the current superintendent, and the office person are the people that get that memo because they're the ones that can sit and plug in this information. So the first 11 questions on there is just basic data. And then after that, it's stuff that'll help us put a brochure together that advertises your full posting. So, that will be this Friday then, if we can get that all put in. Community survey, that is something we strongly recommend. It's a standard set of 9 questions, and I will go through some of those with you too. But we need a timeline for that, an opening and a closing date, and getting that community data back again before we create your posting, so that we can create the profile of the superintendent that you're hoping, the skills you're looking for. Having that community input is important. So, again, working with someone in the office or someone in the district that has access to your website and can put a link out there to this survey. The survey is just a standard one. It's the same questions I'm gonna ask all of you. It's the same questions I'm gonna ask focus groups that we decided we'd like to, it's the same set of questions, so when you get the data back, you're comparing apples to apples. It's not just an open-ended set of questions, okay? So what I would be proposing is working again with someone at the office that works with your website, works with communications, to open that survey up this Friday, on the 9th, and then give it a 2-week shot out there. And then when it closes, it's basically a survey monkey. So it'll just be data that will be given to you then that you can sit down and talk about, and create that profile for you. So it's data from the community, and then the next thing is the focus groups. If you would like to have focus groups, and which groups that you would like to have. So that's something we Then the next big meeting is when you would like to get together. In between, I'll collect all this information, work with the people in the office to get the survey out, get the focus groups done. I'll work with someone in the building to schedule those meetings once we talk later tonight about who you'd like to have me meet with. But the big red items here are the ones we have to get on the board, on the calendar. Because when we talk about those district brochure and what's gonna go in there, we talk about what you want the applicants to be providing to you when they apply. We need the whole board together to have that conversation. So that's the next red theme that I had on here. So looking at your calendars, if we were gonna look at running a community survey for a couple of weeks, get that data put together, I threw out there somewhere around February 2nd to have the board get together and look at all the information that was collected during the month of January, and then sit down
So
and.
February 2nd would be our academy meeting.
Yeah, I tried to pick dates that I knew you might.
Was in February the PBIS data that was going to be presented on Board Academy?
Yes, there'll be that too, so.
Yeah.
And I will say, tonight will probably be the longest time I'll have to meet with you, just because we've got a lot to go through here. But, yeah, go ahead.
A question on the community survey.
Yep.
That's only gonna be online?
Typically it is now. I can work, that's one of the things when we get to that.
Okay, then
Yep.
I'm jumping ahead.
We
That's
can
okay.
do paper copies too, but I will say it's just hard to collect the data. Somebody has to manually sit and have that up, okay? So we're gonna talk through all those data pieces. I just wanted to give you kind of what's happening and why we would need to meet. And it's data collection and then sharing all the data with all of you and coming up with, a posted that you'd like to have going. So, kind of looking at the calendar and then I'll come back and fill in some details. So I didn't know if February 2nd is an option or not.
I think so.
It's fine.
Is that a good
It's
time?
already on our calendar.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, then I'm gonna mark that one as okay. All right. Then, within a couple of days, after you've given your thought and input, and I'm gonna show you what a brochure looks like in a second here too. Then people in our office pull together all that data from the district demographic stuff, all the things that you want to share broadly about, here's what we're proud about in Tomah, and this is why you should apply. Put all that stuff with some pictures, pictures of student things, pictures from the community, sometimes pictures of buildings, whatever. Somebody here with some knowledge of here, they can submit. We have someone in our office that will put that brochure together, okay? So I like to give them a couple of days, so we would meet on the 2nd and give them a couple of days to get that all put together. With your suggestions and your recommendations and looking at posting then on 5th of February. And 20th is a Friday. We could leave that posting open until Sunday. So a few more days. What will happen is during that time that window's open, people will be going online, looking at the brochure and what you're asking. And if you decide on asking questions, we want them to write, whatever. They'll be pulling all their stuff together. If the deadline is February 20th, on February 20th at midnight, no more applications. Stops, it closes. But then all of you get access to go online. If you wanna go on at midnight, you can go on at midnight, they'll be there. I like to give the boards a couple of days to look at things, so if it closes on Sunday night and we meet, at a little bit different time than the 25th, then we want to take a look at that, but I just want you to understand the process. You give yourself some time from the closing date to whatever day we pick that you're gonna meet to review those applications. You need a little time to look at things. So I threw out there the 25th, but we can adjust the closing date based on when you think you can get together as a board to review applications. And I will say the school board convention is till first of January. So, that's that's another whole thing. But in February, there really isn't anything else. If it closes on the 20th, it'd be nice though to have that applications, because if we postpone the review of the applications much further, you'll notice that the next red item is, first round interviews. So February 25th, between the 25th and the 3rd of March, then I'd be contacting the people that you selected. So trying to keep that within a week's window. And I will tell you the reason 3rd and 5th were picked, and again, your options or your schedules. But I look at Tuesdays and Thursdays because I can't tell you how many candidates have board meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mhm.
And it inevitably gets to be somebody that says, now granted, we'll have 2 dates to pick from, but that's why I try, if I can, to recommend Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I know that's not normal days for you to meet, but it would just be the interview days that.
How are you handling out-of-state, people who apply? I mean, if
First
they
round-
apply from like California or Oregon or wherever.
You have some leeway with that, but I will tell you, first round, I have had people, and even second round, if you're okay with it, which is, we do the Zoom. You know, final round, they should come here. And I'll be honest, I've not had anybody from out of state get to that part. So I've not had that conversation, because then you talk about doing offering, catering, travel costs, those kinds of things. So we kind of cross that bridge when it comes to it. But the first round, typically, unless they choose and they want to be here, that's their choice, because I've had people do that too. States away, and they all drive up on the day for the interviews. That's important to them. They want to be face to face. But typically, we've offered the Zoom option on the first round. So a good question.
And, let me ask you, if we don't like any of them, after we've gotten through all this process.
Yep.
And we decide we aren't unanimous, then what?
Well, I haven't had that the board.
Can
was
we,
unanimous.
can we appoint at that point? Somebody to run the school until we find it?
As a board, that's your prerogative to hire your superintendent. That is by statute, your job is to hire a person.
That's what I
If you
thought.
choose to have an interim person, that's your choice.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, and I've had boards go through the first round, they get the applications, and that date that we're on right now with review of applications and choose your candidates, they've reviewed applications and been like,
Right.
We extended the post, then we just adjust dates accordingly. I've had.
And then
boards-
notify those guys that they didn't make the cut.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, all of that. I've actually had people go for first round interviews and they didn't like any of the people.
Right.
Then we opened it back up. It has to be, this is a huge decision. It has to be right. And you have to feel right about it. So there's always spots to move forward and take a different turn.
I'm sure you did. Okay.
Take a different turn. So I'm wondering about the 25th of February. That possibly would work to review applications and interview people. Or somewhere around there.
I'm good.
26, 27.
Depends on what time. Are you talking about in the evening?
Yeah, that meeting would be in your normal meeting time.
Is that,
Cause that's just you.
is that dependent upon whether we chose the midnight of the 22nd or the 20th?
Well, I'm just saying you have more or fewer days depending.
No, I understand.
Yeah. If you decided we were gonna meet on Monday, well, then I would definitely say keep it on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, I was
But if
thinking,
you're saying we're gonna go a little further in the week.
well, I don't know. You
Yeah.
just mentioned it, and I
Yeah.
thought,
Yep, nope. Yep, I just want you to feel comfortable with how much time from the closing date to whatever
We're-
date.
So what you're
We're not
saying
giving it
is,
15
we're
days.
just,
We're giving them 15 days to get the application and then
Yes.
get it in.
so
Yes.
we're giving them a,
They haven't got in by then, they really aren't that.
I think somewhere else.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
us.
I think,
Yeah, that's what I was.
so on the 25th.
Yep.
You're saying that's when we're just looking at all the applications. Even if they're just sent to us right there and then, and we haven't had a chance to review.
So it's gonna have
No.
closed, it's gonna either have closed Friday or Sunday, that's what we
Okay.
decide.
Yep.
And then we'll have access. So
We'll have
if we
access.
decide Friday is the end, we'll have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday until the time of meeting to go online, look at them all. Come in Wednesday night and say, all right,
Deliver.
who are your favorites?
Deliberate.
What do you
yeah.
want?
I don't think we need more than just 2 days. I
Correct.
think give them till Sunday because everything
That's why. I'm
in
loving it.
college for these guys is always due on Sunday.
Because my schedule during the week gets so crazy that like I'm a fast reader, but if I have the weekend to do it, Seth is home with the boys and I don't
Oh.
have interruptions.
I understand that one.
Whereas during the week, I have a million interruptions.
I was
Okay.
thinking on the fifth,
Yeah.
till the 20th.
So I would say for
15 days,
me, it
give
would
us
be
a break.
better for it to be finalized on the Friday, so that I
Okay.
have the whole weekend.
To me, I don't care.
20.
Yeah.
20th it is.
It just-
makes no
The
difference.
clinic is closed, I'm not being pulled
They're not-
50 million directions.
20th, everybody?
20th?
Yeah,
20th.
just keep it.
Now, then I have to ask one more question about this, because, is everyone comfortable? Because we'll send you directions and a login and all that good stuff the week before. Is everybody comfortable reading it online? Because typically there's, because the other option, if online, maybe connections aren't good, whatever. I mean, there's a zillion reasons, and sometimes people want to see the paper copies. And then I work with an administrative assistant, and we have a secure place in a room where you could come on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday and look at the paper copies. They just need to stay here.
Just a minute.
But if nobody thinks they need that, we won't worry about it.
Do you need to know, do you need to know well in advance? No.
But no, within a couple of, I mean, I
Gotcha.
gotta give enough time
I'm
after
one
the
that
20th.
needs this. You can give me the stuff online, but I hate reading stuff online. It
Well,
really
that's why I
bothers
asked the question. So we're gonna meet again on February 2nd,
me. Okay,
and we can finalize, but I just, at least the 20th as the deadline for closing the opening, and the 25th as a meeting time.
just be prepared for that Monday to have somebody's office open for me to read.
And that's why,
February 25th, I'm just giving Sheila. a
Well,
heads up.
it would
To
be-
be the
The 23rd and the 24th.
23rd, and I'll work with.
23rd, closed
And-
session meeting.
No,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
25th is the closest.
Just for her to come in and sit
That's easy.
in an office.
25th is the big
Office.
meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
25th is the big meeting. And oh, trust me, when we get done, I'm gonna read through these just to make sure one more time. Alright. So 23rd then, we'll talk about the office, but the 25th is when you're gonna get together, you're gonna go through the applications, but it is helpful if you do ahead of time.
Is one quick question about that meeting.
Yep.
Is that a closed
Yes.
session with just basically us? Yep, okay, that's what I thought.
Closed session. You are reviewing applications.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. The other one, the essay questions and the district project, that, that one, the
Yep.
one that's
Yep.
on the second. that's
Yep.
that.
Yeah, because that one, everybody's putting their input.
Yep. But, yeah, the 25th has to be
That's what I
closed.
thought, okay.
Yes. And so are the interview nights. First round interviews
Oh, yeah,
is also closed. So that's my next red date, set of dates there.
Wait, did we decide on the 25th?
Yes.
What time did we decide?
You did.
That's what I asked.
Oh, you guys,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Normal board time, sorry.
But we do have different nights. So
Or 7:30.
Oh,
Or
okay,
6.
that's why I don't.
Or 6.
I work until 7, but I am in charge of my own schedule, so I can always,
Could you do that?
I can adjust if I have to.
It's a heck of a drive from your office.
I know, it's so. Takes forever to get here. My office.
You just want to listen to 7, like a regular board meeting? Is that too late for people or just?
I don't care. So I apologize, because I just assumed 6:30 and I shouldn't do that.
So our regular meetings are 7, our Monday,
Okay.
our first Mondays, our academy like tonight are 6:30.
All right, so on February 2nd, that's a 6:30 one.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then review of applications on February 25th will be 7:00. Okay. So then you will decide that night how many, and we'll talk about all the details with that. And then I will call people. By the way, when the application process, when it's all posted out there, these dates for interview dates will be posted. So when they apply, they will know that these are the dates. so hopefully it'll run into, call an applicant that you picked and they're, oh, I can't make it those 2 weeks, they should have.
Yep.
Can I make a request for that meeting? Can we do it at the district office, since it's a closed session?
Yeah.
For what?
Can we do it at the district office, since it's a closed session? They're awesome, and thanks for opening it.
I love it. I love it.
So,
Making my
let's
drawing
just
board
go
or
for
not.
the 25th.
25th, yeah.
You're making my drawing board. Forgot.
Okay, well, anyways.
No, we still.
I was like, I love the
My winter barbecue.
I'm joking.
Yes,
I
exactly.
like it when we're at the district office too.
Oh, so the 25th then would be at the district. office.
Yes.
Yes,
As well as March 3rd.
yes, because it's a night.
Probably not, because it's gonna be a big enough.
March 3rd is the
It's gonna be
first round
two
of
weeks.
interviews.
I recall they were in.
What do you mean?
office, so I did.
It's gonna be in this interview, it's just the 7 of us.
Oh, no, math room.
So I said, we are in the math room, it's a big group. No, it's gonna be other administrators and teachers and community members and.
Why?
But let's
Oh, really?
talk about that.
Why?
From all
All the different schools and everything.
It's not the same.
Typically first, okay, we can talk about this more too when we get to it, you know, as far as detail.
Just all.
But we gotta get dates in.
Yeah.
But first round, I will tell you, is typically just.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right,
So
yep.
the 3rd and the 5th would be just the 7 of you and, you know, and the candidates and leave room for. one.
So that could be the district office.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you wanted, I mean, again, it's your.
No, you're right.
Okay, all right. So, and we maybe wouldn't need both dates, but usually the first round is 4 to 6 people.
But if you have 9 people that you're interviewing, it is better to cut them in half.
Oh, absolutely, but that's what I'm saying, is typically it's 4 to 6.
I've done 9 of them in
Okay.
one day, and it's
No,
4
okay,
hours.
no, and one day I would never say more than 3.
Yeah, we were doing a limit, we had to always have one day.
Depending on what we get, yeah.
So,
Those would be
on the March 3rd.
Yep.
I actually had plans, this is my husband's birthday, I'm sorry.
Well, we can adjust, because again, at least one of these dates is not a Monday, Wednesday. If your week is where we could do one on Monday and one on Thursday, or one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday, at least if there's one day that's not a Monday, Wednesday.
Well, I'll
We
see
can work
what
it out.
Those need to work,
But no, that's why we talk about this.
Yeah.
And
we
these
did,
are
we
just
did
fine.
do back-to-back nights.
No.
No.
Just keep it.
Okay. Keep it, okay.
I'll just tell my husband.
It's okay, the March 12th is my 15-year anniversary.
He just turned 65 on that day.
Well, and you
That's
can
gonna
be
be
okay on the
Jan,
10th, because it's all unanimous on the 10th, it'd be done.
There we go. See, it'll be my anniversary present.
Yeah.
All right, so the 3rd and the 5th.
Yep.
Okay, and what time would you like to, well, we can talk a little bit more, but if you're putting out calendars right now, you might have to start tick early, or thinking 3 and 3. That's usually an hour interview with. So,
I think you said 3 lessons.
okay, so what's the earliest one to start? So long as people are
I
punching the
can
calendar.
serve them.
On Tuesday, or on Tuesday and Thursday, the
Yep.
3rd and
Yes.
the 5th.
Yeah, what's the earliest?
Oh, I have the whole day.
My calendar isn't open right now until there, so mine is.
Well, we can
open.
talk about it later, but I saw people punching
No,
it, so.
so
I just wanna mark that they're
The
gonna say-
sooner I get it
Yeah.
on here,
Well,
the
like today, it
sooner
would be better.
How long are they?
because
40
people
minutes.
schedule on my
Well,
calendar.
they're in for 45 minutes to an hour, and then you want
So you
to.
can figure, you can do 5, 6, and 7, or you 6, 7, 8.
Well, we do, let's say 5 and then 6:15 or 6:10. We'll see how, is there a time to write some notes?
I would start like at 3 in the afternoon and then go, because in case you end up,
I don't think you're.
you don't know how many interviews, if you
You're
end
not
up
gonna
with
serve,
8 interviews.
you're not gonna serve all the entire staff, everybody
And
else.
we
Yeah.
might have to wait there, we need to decide
Yeah, we
on
can
the
do that.
starting time,
We'll figure it out
once you
later.
know how many, because if there's only,
Plan it.
people only wanna see
I'm
4
gonna,
people,
what time?
2 and 2.
Yeah.
That's
That's
your.
before.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of parent training.
Yep.
All right, but March third and fifth, that's the big one, just that we have to say.
So, I need to start blocking out at 4.
That's what Katie just
Is that
said
what
too.
Katie did? Because I start filling my calendar in,
Yep.
so.
That would be perfect.
Before to spend.
Well, you know,
Hopefully, no one is booking anything on my calendar after 9 p.m. You never know.
so and my goal is to try to make those 2 nights reasonable and your final night to be good. Nothing gets really, wow, after. All right. So we'll talk a little bit in a few minutes about the background and reference checks, but the next red one then would be March 10th. Have the final meeting. The 12th is just to save the date in case that 10th gets late and you want some time to process the date. We can talk about building tours, we can talk about the interviews, you know, that night can get kind of late.
Yeah.
So the 10th though, the big important thing right now is that date. And I'm gonna be out of town. Okay, that's why we do this. Okay, so.
10 and 12.
So the 10th
And the 12th.
Hey.
That whole week.
Not the
that
10th.
whole week,
That whole week. Right.
okay, that's fine.
So Sue's
Okay.
gonna be gone that whole week. St. Patty's Day is the next Tuesday and Thursday.
Well, we only need, yeah, okay, there you go.
I won't be back until the 18th. Or 19th. Thanks.
So you're gonna be gone for 2 weeks?
Pretty close.
Okay, well,
Can I do it Zoom? Is that possible or is that not?
well, it's,
No, they
we're
won't.
close.
Policy says not.
They cannot do Zoom,
Okay.
because I wasn't allowed to do it for, for Dr. Lee.
Well, even if you were in a remote, like if you were alone.
No, its policy is no. We already
Your
found
policy.
that out.
Well, do you wanna? Not sure how to back up. Okay. What day are you leaving?
I will be leaving the 6th. March 6th.
You can't back up. You don't have the time.
No, I was just trying to think if we could even get one.
Final round of interviews.
And again, I backed up for March 6th, your board meetings, what I did. So what we could do is you just have, if you were willing to go a couple more weeks, you'd have a board meeting, you know, specifically to do final hiring. So you're going to,
I'm gone the 6th. What do I don't know.
Do we have a spring break in there?
Okay, 19th.
Yeah,
So the first day realistically, they could
Be the 20th.
be like the 23rd, that following Monday, 23rd, that's late, so.
20, no, well, that's okay. It's a little longer gap between first and second interviews, but it's okay. So the 23rd is a Monday.
That week, I'm back for sure.
So that's a Monday on the 23rd.
So you're back on the 20th on a Friday?
Tell you the truth, Teresa, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
Driving back, so.
Oh, I understand. Never mind.
I'd like to be, but if it doesn't work out for the group as a whole, that's fine.
Can we push it up a little bit? Like, we have a special meeting before February 2nd to get the essay questions district brochure finalized, so that we're done by the time Sue goes out of town with the final interview. So, that's, my concern is, I mean, I don't think pushing it out 2 weeks is gonna make a difference. I don't know. But if we have to start, if there's other positions that have to get filled to, like, if there's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Basically, we gotta take care of that too.
I don't think 2 weeks is really gonna make a difference.
I don't think that would make a difference. I think what you're alluding to is we.
So I was saying, can we do, like, so right now we're doing the essay questions and district brochure finalized on the 2nd. Can we do like a special meeting before then, or can we, well, I guess, no, like you have to do the focus groups.
Yeah.
That would be what I'm thinking, survey.
You don't have to do focus groups.
Unless we did the focus groups instead of the community survey.
No, you would need to do the community survey. It's better to get a community input. From when I had done this, we did community input from every different, venue. And they were done by survey. And then at the end, we didn't do focus groups. We put together the questions from the community survey. And then we turned around and we had, community forums, a different type of forum for different personnel and the outside community to come in as, part of the, final round of interviews. So we skipped the focus groups.
So,
And we got.
regardless, so basically I'm asking, like, is there a way to do it that? Or do we just do it March 20?
Because if you did skip the focus group, you could take the information when we got back from conference on the 28th and put the essay questions there and we meet at that time.
I think 2 weeks is fine. I think 2 weeks is fine. I would rather Sue be here. And because this decision is going to be made by the 7 of us, because we cannot delay it until after.
That's why I was saying, like, if we need to do it sooner than the 2 weeks,
Right.
if we bump everything up so Sue is here before she leaves, but I don't think that.
But I don't think we.
Pushing it out 2
with
weeks
that
is gonna
2
make
week
a
time,
difference.
with the 2 week mark of being gone, I don't think we can
I'm
wrangle it.
can do it the week of the.
The only thing is, could we possibly run into losing candidates?
In
2 weeks.
March, I don't, see, cause what'll happen is they'll interview on the 3rd and the 5th. And the people that you select on the 5th, finalists will know that.
I think,
So,
I think you have a chance.
Yeah.
But you're near down to 1, 3 or 4.
3 or
at
4 at
that
that point, and they know they're finalists, so
They,
in that couple of weeks' time, it's not gonna.
Interviewing on the school.
Right.
they will be. You have to keep that in mind. When they're interviewing for us, they're interviewing for everybody else. So
The 23rd is that the.
So we would do the final round of dinner, the 23rd.
And then if you needed to, then we could still leave the 25th or the 24th, so whenever, if you wanted to get back to that, but.
So-
The 25th, if you needed it,
So the Monday, the
3rd would be the final interview, final round. Or, and again, I'll throw this out there, you want to avoid a Monday. The board meeting, but that's the 1, 2, 3, 4th Monday.
Right, well, right, that means that late, I would think.
You know, you could go Tuesday off. What do you think? Okay, and again, that's fine, because if people know they're finalists, that's. But it is hard to leave for.
What is it?
It's hard to not have your board meeting. So, no, yeah, it's fine. Then be the 4th.
That is what some people.
They could, and Mondays and Wednesdays are big days for work. But you could have candidates that end up, that they're all coordinated on Wednesdays and you're all. It's just that push a little. let's put it this way, let's do the 23rd unless you have a finalist on the 5th. That when I call them, or I'll know by then, 'cause every district has their board meetings.
Oh.
What
Okay,
day of the month.
we're gonna cut this down to one or two, or 2 or 3,
Three at the most.
3 at the most, but 2 finalists. So we're only gonna need 1 day.
Right. But,
I can't do the 24th.
okay, and then,
Sorry.
yeah, so we'll
I'm
do the
gonna-
23rd.
Okay.
I can miss my anniversary, I can miss my kid's birthday.
Well, and again, we'll know soon enough, as soon as we know who the first volume of applicants, I can check right away when are their board meetings. Okay. So, all right, so finals on the 23rd.
We establish a time and that one.
Well, let's, yeah, not quite yet, because it depends on how many things you want them to do that day.
Okay.
Are we talking about them meeting with groups? Are we talking about tours? Are we talking about?
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
as long as they have the day,
Day.
we're good.
Day.
All right, and then if you wanna save the 25th as a, yeah. You could get done on the 23rd and it's unanimous and everybody knows, no, this is the person, and we don't need another day to deliberate. But if we're sitting at 9:30 at night and you're still debating, then I'm gonna call it and say, let's take a break, we've got this date on the calendar, let's come back, let's do that time. So, we can set times for both of those at a later time.
What is the final round of interviews date? It says March 10th.
It says March 10th and we've picked the 23rd.
Oh, I thought that was the final candidate, so
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Yep. And then the final candidate selection is just that optional, in fact, if you want to write optional next to it, that's not an edit and change I should make. That's if you need it. Okay. Now, just be thinking that you're probably gonna have a special board meeting, because what's your next, after the 25th, what would be your next? Regular,
April 6th could be the regular meeting, not till April 20th.
right, but the 6th, April 6th.
6 would be a.
Easter
meeting
Monday.
like tonight.
And that would be great then. Okay, so I could put a note in here that potential
When's it like?
board meeting,
Thank you so much.
because I'll get you a revised calendar.
Seven.
Okay, so rather than, March 16th, like the potential board meeting on April 6th.
Edmonds organizational meeting, 27.
Right, right.
So, okay, so this says negotiate contract March 12th through 16th, so that's not the correct dates.
Not now, now it'll be the 25th through April 6th. Because when you leave on the 23rd, hopefully, but it is the 25th. Your board president's gonna have guidelines as to here's the amount of salary that you can go. You're gonna be leaving that meeting with parameters for him to offer the job to the final. And he might need a day or two to get that all finalized and worked out. So then April 6th, you come back, it's understood that the person is gonna accept. Unless there's some really broad things that they come back and beyond the parameters as board gave Mike. He that isn't gonna have authority to make that, like that.
So they don't negotiate with HR with,
Not with this job. No, okay. This one is with the board president and then coming back to you as a board.
so if they negotiate outside those parameters, then you have to call a special meeting,
Yep.
correct?
That is correct. Hopefully,
And
well,
so,
part of our process is to kind of build toward not having that happen.
yeah,
But, just in general terms right now, so that you understand the calendar.
So where are you looking at then announcing further?
So if you did April 6th as a final, like, here's, we're done with the contract, anytime after that, do the 7th, 8th, whatever, you know, we'll get to that point, we'll go more. But yeah, if you right away, that within that.
But the option to there's concession.
Sometimes negotiations go, and other times, there's just, predicting. sometimes I've had, boards actually call, they pick their candidate and they call them and right at that meeting and it's, yep, I accept whatever, because it's a good fit and everybody's excited. Majority of the time, it takes more. They want to see how many the contract, like, there's different pieces, and we're gonna talk about that. That's something you start on civil, so you want to update the current contract at all in terms of language. It's been a while since we've reviewed job description, there's stuff. Okay, so I'm going to read down these dates, make sure we got this right. So, getting down to essay questions, February 2nd. Review of applications, February 25th. First round, March 3rd and 5th. Final round, March 23rd. And then final candidate selection if necessary on the 25th. And then negotiate contract up to April 6th. That works?
Good.
Yay, okay, that's the most difficult part of all of this, is getting that. We doing okay over there?
Taking a few notes last year.
Got it. All right. So now we can go back to that worksheet. So we've crossed off A, set timeline and date for search activities. Now, I wanna take a second. There is some information about focus groups. And I know past experiences, but I'm just gonna throw the stuff out there. Typically, I do meet with at least one or two groups out of this set of groups that's listed at the bottom of the worksheet. In this first section of your binder, there's a sample letter if the board would choose to invite for certain people to come in and participate. That's probably not the most common because most boards don't want to think, then rational, how did that person get picked up or another? I have had boards put out a little notice on their webpage, anybody interested in providing some input? And we set a limit of maybe we're gonna do 12, 15 people. Out of all the people that apply, it's a random draw. So you're not showing any favoritism to anybody, you're giving everybody who wants a chance to participate, they can. That's a way to get some other community input in focus groups. Okay? And do you have to do those if you're doing the community survey? Maybe not, but I would put a recommendation at least for some of these, because that's community. But commonly, I also do a focus group with staff, both support staff or certified staff, the administrative team, the groups that are listed. So when I say focus group, literally what happens is we have that same 7, 9 questions. And I start with the first one and it's just open sharing. And I literally type what I hear. Okay? So 9 questions, say 9 to every group, and then we just bring all the responses together and come up with a summary. And I will tell you that 5 years ago with our ChatGPT, I helped me summarize. It took a while. Now I can put all that typing that I did and it'll tell me what the most common things were. And that's part of how we create that candidate profile. Now, within the focus groups, it's just open-ended response. I ask the question, what are you looking for skills? It just comes in. The survey asks the same questions. Survey asks the same questions, but it's only certain things are listed. People have to select the response. So I'll explain that. So these are the 9 questions that I would be asking you. On the community survey, they don't get asked that last question because that's just an open-ended and the lid on. Okay, so on the flip side, These are the examples in the community survey. So the question that says personal characteristics, they have choice. Approachable, people oriented, empathetic, visionary, honest, ethical, flexible, resource, sense of humor, communicative, environmental. So people pick their top. It's a survey monkey format, so they just pick they select an answer. And then survey monkey tallies what were the top answers. The next question, what type of leadership style? So their leadership style is given on the survey with examples. Which one do you, person filling out this survey, what do you think is the best fit in leadership style? Strengths and skills. And there's the skills that are listed on the survey. Professional expertise. Now these last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, those are when I meet with people face to face and then type in their answers. Those are not out there on the community survey, they're just open-ended questions. That makes sense? So in the next,
Why wouldn't you put, out there, where they can type in an answer, what are the challenges facing the district? Or what are the selling points of the school district and the community? Why
on the
would you do
community
that?
survey, because it's a survey monkey and it's just a data tally. So if you put all those individual responses, there isn't an easy way to
Analyze it.
categorize them. Okay,
So if somebody who doesn't get chosen for one of these groups, because you're only gonna choose 12 people, and they really wanna give their input, how are their voice now has been shut down from the
well,
community, and
they
so.
can't answer these things. They do get these first sets of.
No, I mean, like for these last type of questions, that would be, that they
Well,
wanted.
question number
just
5 is actually more of from a focus group. Well, how am I, that's part of that brochure that we're gonna do, what are selling points of the district, that's not asking for feedback on the skills of the next person. Right?
Right. But I think you're not understanding what I'm saying. They just, their viewpoints just get shut off because you aren't, even though they're doing that survey, they give you some generalities that they have options for, but yet they cannot voice their opinion or voice what they think and get it into this and feel like they've been heard.
But other than these first 4 questions, where we're just trying to get input on what skills you want out of the next superintendent. These other questions don't necessarily give you any data related to that profile that we're trying to create. That's the purpose of the community survey. Okay. These last questions are more district oriented, not skills of the next superintendent.
But if we're trying to find out what the community wants and how this person is going to deal with.
Right, but these next questions, what's one thing you would improve about the district? That's not related to the profile we're trying to create for the next superintendent.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. These questions, this 5, 6, that's where I'm going here. The focus groups, why they're important to get some feedback back is when you start looking at developing questions for the interviews, when you start looking at developing the brochure that's bragging about your district. That's what's unique or special about the schools. Those are things we can get from the focus groups because it's one-on-one and there's really no way to predict those answers. The community survey is intended to get district desires for skills in the next superintendent. That's it. The focus group goes beyond that and asks these other things.
Right, but what I'm saying is, when you're trying to get your questions for your interviews, you're basing it, some of it off of this survey. And so therefore you shut down half the community because they haven't been able to come in and say, hey, what have you thought about this? What about asking the interviewee this question? And if they don't have that opportunity, how are they going to be able to get that information to the district so that we can look at it as a group?
And again, we can do a focus group that's community. I'm talking about the community survey does not have open-ended questions.
Right, but you're saying 12 people from the community. Which 12
No.
are you gonna choose?
No, that's why I said I wouldn't do it that way. You can do one of two things. You can do the open one, like you did before, where people can come in, and it's still gonna be these same questions. It's not gonna be that. Or if you wanna limit it to a smaller group, my recommendation would be let anybody apply, volunteer, whatever, but then if you want a smaller group to have a easier conversation, then you can you just tell people we're gonna draw 20, 25 names out of a group. That's one way to do it, or the open community thing where here's an open time, come to the building, we're gonna ask these questions. You can do it one of two ways, or a focus group. But I think before we were talking about not having any focus groups, and I'm just trying to explain the difference between a survey that's got very specific answers that they're just picking versus having a focus group, which I think you should have. How all of you want to handle a community focus group is totally up to you. I don't care which one you do. But the same 9 questions, right, get asked. Yeah. So community focus group, staff focus group, and the team focus group, I'm totally open for whatever. It's just, then I have to work and figure out, community focus group, you probably pick, but if I'm gonna do focus groups with staff, some other people, I might do, what I typically do is just go sit in a room and work with staff and principals to figure out how groups of people can come in. And again, it's a lot of times it's a volunteer thing, who would like to participate, who was part of their day, so we can pick if they want to participate. But we can handle that in a number of ways. So I think we're talking the same thing. I would like to see focus groups, but that's call. You just want the survey, you're just gonna get counted answers.
I would just like as much input I can get from the community. And that means all of those individual groups that you have listed here.
Yeah, well, or as many as
we can do.
Right. So that is the conversation. So conduct focus groups, yes or no, is on my work. And then which groups do you want to do? So I'm hearing from you definitely community. That would, and then would you like me to do a group of staff, a group of support staff, group of administrators, or there any other groups that you'd like me to sit at? Find a day to come and sit in district and just have people come in and share.
So you would just be available for them to stop in and?
Well, we'd set up times, because, just to control group size and.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause if I do something with
students, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because I think those high school students and probably those junior high kids could probably tell you a
They'll
lot.
tell you, they'll share. But just so you know, they're gonna get these same questions.
Right.
Yeah. But,
I have no problem with the questions.
Yep.
It's
So-
just how are we going to do this so that people feel like they have been heard? Because that is one thing that I hear over and over is we aren't heard, so it's useless to even bother.
okay. So in terms of timeline then, if we want community focus group, that's something that has to be promoted and advertised so people have to know about it. So that's something we need to start with in the next week or so, if we're gonna do a community focus group. The staff piece, I can work with the principals and find out, I threw out January 28th on here, just because in some districts it works to come under a certain day. Now, at this stage of the game, my guess is, the principals have very specific things planned for January 28th.
Yes, they do.
So it may not be the world's best day, and then again, maybe it does work. I can talk to them, because maybe there's a flip-flop of this meeting's going on, but this is work time, and so maybe people would come, I don't know. And so I would, what I need to know from you is which groups you want me to meet with, and then I will work with the administrative team to figure out how we make that work. The community So I do need your feedback on how you like that.
Well, I think the administrators should have some voice in who's going to be their leader.
Supervisor.
I think that one's important, the teachers is important, and the support staff, and this, you know, the only one that, our opinion is gonna come out regardless, so if you wanna cut one of these out, you're gonna cut us out, but the other ones,
Here's what I'm gonna toss out, no, because I do not want to cut you out, absolutely not. But in essence of the time factor here,
right,
okay, because typically I do this at this meeting, because this is the only thing that's usually played, type of thing. So here's what I would ask, so I can send, or through your office I could send, but somehow I could send all of you an electronic copy of this.
okay.
If you, between now and, when are we meeting? Our next meeting, or, yeah, our next, when we plan the brochure, if sometime in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, you could shoot me back replies, please. I will put everything together and put it all in a sheet so you can see the board's focus group answers when you see everybody else's answers, okay? And I'll just put them all in a group, because that's what I do with the others too. All the teacher things are all under each question, is there, everybody's all listed. And then I'll do a summary, obviously, because, yeah, I want you to see the actual responses, but for working time, the night that you're trying to look through this, I will give you a summary for each group. Okay? So, if you guys could do your focus groups just online, I'll send you a copy. So, that takes care of them. I'll work with the principals to figure out a time to meet with administrators, support staff, and teachers. Now, community focus group then. How would you like us to send out a notice saying, hey, if you'd like to give input, please come on such and such a night and time, and I'll work with, because I know you've got a district calendar, because of the activities, and somebody knows what else is going on in the community. We'll pick a night that, you know, it's not got 5,000 other things going on, so people can come. Or we could also, do a situation where, you know, people apply by such a, you know, send in their interest by such and such a date, which we've got a pretty tight window here. And then the names would just, 24 names will get drawn. You don't get 24, they're all on there.
So again, at that, you're literally gonna lock down questions one through nine, and that's it.
Just ask them to,
So how do you control a very loud voice in the room?
give it, that's part of facilitating the conversation. A, we have the questions. B, I'd like everybody to be heard.
Okay.
So we gotta give everybody a chance to be heard.
And you're the one doing this?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes. Yes.
And you would just, and so I guess I'm gonna go back to you a little bit. What have you seen as being the most effective more often than not? I mean, is there a certain number cutoff that you would like to cap at? I mean, would you want it in a room like this? Would you want it?
You know, you get more than 12 to 15 people, it's like
Right.
have everybody do this, okay? So, and I will also share this. Only one time have I done a community focus group. No, 2 times, community focus group. One time, the board picked people and called and asked, would you like? And one time, we did the lottery thing. So in both cases, it was a limited group.
Okay.
I've not really done one where it's just open door, try.
Well, it's good to know. That's what, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
I find most people, I mean, no, I try really hard to keep it, but you gotta be respectful. We've got an hour's worth of time to get through 9 questions. Please let everybody have a chance to be heard.
What if you had 200 people show up?
Well,
I don't think
I don't think that'll happen.
Well, and that's what I was saying, I'm thinking you wouldn't probably wanna do it that way, where it'd be an open door, right?
Yeah.
So it'd have to be
Yeah.
some kind of an application or selection.
Well, and you know your community. I don't know. I mean, how many people would, for an hour?
I've already had people
Okay.
tell me they want to be part of.
But it's some
Okay.
staff.
Right.
Yeah, I guess mine would be staff.
unless all of a sudden they tell me there's only 50 staff. Then, no, then it's not fair.
Could it be,
Yeah.
and I'll just throw it out there, that they could do one of these online type thing? You know, you send it out,
Well, I have to rekey everything that.
Again,
you
like
guys
1,000 of
submit.
them,
Yeah.
you won't.
That's the issue with that. 7 of you, I can handle that, right?
Right.
I can rekey,
Can't you just put them in ChatGPT though?
but if everybody's submitting, then I have to cut.
Just doesn't take it all.
I have to pull all the answers off.
You could just pull the data in.
Not if they're writing essay answers. Can you?
Convert to PDF.
I was thinking just upload
I was
PDFs.
gonna say files.
There is a way to do it, but you don't, I mean, that was kind of where I was thinking was if we do that instead of a community group, then we don't have to worry about trying to hear everyone within an hour and everyone can still have their input. And then we would just
I would prefer that.
pull it into, you would just pull the PDF right into ChatGPT and it'll summarize the whole thing for you.
Let me check with,
I don't know if that's legal, that's why I asked. I don't know if like.
Why wouldn't it be
you can-
illegal?
well, it's not, it's
I don't
not,
know.
it's just the pulling, yeah, the survey monkey. I'm not a technical expert on survey monkey, how that all works.
Does it have to be Survey Monkey? It does, okay.
Internally,
Well, because it looks like some of these are just, they're, like you said, the first several are just pull downs, right?
yeah, those are the ones on the.
Those can
survey.
stay on Survey Monkey, and then they could be redirected to another, area, or, I don't know how surveys are
Don't
done.
complicate.
Yeah.
You can pull it from Survey Monkey.
You can pull it,
I'm gonna
okay.
look, we'll just keep.
And then have them write down their quick essay, no more than 2 sentences or whatever the directions should be. And, blurb their stuff, and then do, I don't know, somebody said, put in a PDF and then just copy and paste that PDF, that section on the PDF, and, then you have all your responses. And then let AI generate the summary from that. Let AI read it and generate it.
Survey Monkey is an AI powered platform.
It is? Oh,
Can I have a clarification for our homework, just for, just to move us along? Questions 1 through 4, which were the survey monkey questions, would you like us also to just choose from the pull down? Perfect, that's what I wanted to know. And then the rest of them, you would like survey answers, perfect, thank you. That's
you
all
would
I
like
Very
our,
welcome.
our essay answers in the next little section. Got it.
Yeah, because I need all of this back for that first, the next time we're all gonna be together.
Just be careful that we're not trying to overcomplicate it, because I mean, some of this stuff, we know the biggest parts of these, I mean,
Yeah, I just want I guess getting this whole thing out, the first 4 questions to the community, so that they can have a voice of choosing what are those
Absolutely.
characteristics that they're going to be able to interface with.
So let me just be clear right now. We're going to put that survey monkey, like little link, whatever, on our Facebook page, on the district website, all that kind of stuff.
Whatever, yep.
Absolutely. Then you get to answer the first 4 questions, anybody in the
Well,
community.
and there's actually, I mean, it.
I'm sure
Maybe
there's
send it
more,
into
yeah.
the newspaper
No,
and.
hold on, hold on. Okay, so then the next portion, I'm so sorry, he looks so
No,
exhausted.
no, I'm just processing this whole process of how to get
Absolutely.
100 responses, all, yeah, that's
Right.
where my brain is.
Right, so let's just focus on what your original plan was of like putting that survey monkey link up there, you get the aggregate of the data,
Well, you
from
get
those
copies
questions.
of it too. You
Right,
get the survey
which
results.
is beneficial for all of us, absolutely.
Yep.
So now, we're at a portion right now where we're talking about focus groups. And she was saying that she has done 2 types of focus groups, correct? We have done the lottery focus group, and then we did a board that picked and choose their friends.
And there
because
is
they
a focus group invitation letter, I did.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So let's make a decision as a board of one of those 2 options. Either we we decide that we're going to choose and hand select community members, which I think would be a blowback, you know, from some of the people, right? Or we open it up to the lottery. I suggest we do the lottery, because if people truly care, and I'm talking about the people that are talking to you guys that are saying, I wanna pick the superintendent, and I wanna be a part of it, this is your guys' job to communicate to those people that they need to get their name on that lottery. They need to also do that survey, you know, and they can email the Board of Education, who is the people that are going to decide who is going to be chosen. They can email all of us at any point in time. That's how the community is going to get their input to us, okay? So, lottery or pick people, what would you guys like to choose?
I really do lottery.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Lottery,
Yeah.
lottery. Everybody's cool with lottery? Bueno, we got you. Moving on.
All right. And I will work with the office to get that information out to everybody in the process.
Awesome.
And then we will have to get those people, because I have to meet with them. So we'll have to have a relatively soon deadline to fill it out.
So how will that look then? You send it, you'll have something that somebody's gonna just email that says.
Well, we'll put it out on the website. If you're interested, contact.
But
district office by
you
date.
pick the date, and you say if you're not available this date,
Right.
That's it.
So I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So is it gonna be, you're gonna have, who's email, who's collecting this, is it?
you must be available on such and
Typically,
such
the
a date.
administrative assistants collect
So it's
it.
Sheila?
Depends on the
So you're gonna say
spots.
contact, if you're interested, contact Sheila Butzler at this email,
Yeah.
tell her you'd like to be
And
on
then
the list
we'll
of
we'll
potential.
have,
Yeah.
I gotta look at the calendar and work my way back, because, we'll have to have it before the 28th of January.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to.
So we don't have to worry about that.
I will take care of it and work with the district office on that. But
Okay.
then, are you okay being, and we'll have to have a couple people there when we pick names, just to make sure it's all.
We have like 26 and 27.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you need to call a couple of us, but I mean, yeah, Sheila's a notary and things like that, so she's well respected, but then, I mean, so if you have somebody else.
Yep. And I will pick a date, it'll probably be that last week there.
And when it's the community, are we to come as well, or are we just to sit at the back? Okay,
You don't have to be there.
okay.
I just meet with people,
Right.
ask them the questions, and type their answers.
It'd probably be beneficial if we were.
I'd say it's actually better.
Words
That's
there.
exactly
Yeah,
what
that's
I
what
was
I'm
gonna say.
saying.
Just a suggestion.
One less thing I have to do.
Yeah, I'm just,
No, I agree with you, but
Okay. All right,
So you're gonna do focus groups with school board teachers, community administrators, support staff and students, correct?
that's what I have marked.
Okay, and then ours is just the survey monkey, correct? Yep.
Yeah, well,
Well, and
that-
this,
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna get this
send you that,
electronically.
I'm gonna send you that form with space in it, or, where you can type in an answer, and you can just send it right back to me.
Great.
thank
All right. I think that's probably for the night, as much as some of the rest of this weekend, and I have a yes on the survey. You connected? All right, so, please take a little bit to look at your binder. I will read these out just so you can see what I was talking about. I'll start these on this end, so, once we get all this data collected, we will be creating something like this. This is what you will be helping to design at that next time. Yeah, they're two different kinds, so we're just going around. Those are two current searches that are happening. Just so you understand how this all gets collected, how this information is used, okay? So, all that demographic stuff, the pictures, the information about the district, all that stuff is what's collected from the office, from your board president. Then the candidate profile is the piece that comes out of community survey, the focus groups. Again, that description of what is it that you're looking for in your next full-time. So that's how this all comes together. the next time we meet, I will have this data in raw form. And then the people in, the lady in my office that does the magic with creating, so it's in your school colors, it'll have your mascot on it, it will be your picture designed. But when we meet the next time, we have to finalize the information for her to do that little thing, okay? So, and then what we will also talk about that night then is essay questions. Whether you want, as part of the application process, you want candidates to answer a couple questions. Again, what comes out of the survey information, what's a high concern, maybe that's an essay question then. Again, in this era of chat, GPI and all that stuff, there is some conversation once in a while about, well, do we really need to have them do a written thing because we don't know if they really wrote it, that kind of thing? Well, that could have always been the case, right? But you can write those essay questions asking for specific details about what you have done. That makes it have to be specific. Okay, so I still think essay questions are a good idea. So that's the other thing. That's why essay questions are on that timeline. That's a big deal that night.
How many essay questions do you usually ask? About 2?
No more than 2.
Okay.
No more than 2.
Because I don't want to sit here and
No,
read.
that's exactly it. And in fairness to the candidates, I'd rather see one well-written than,
Right.
okay, I got 3
I just
things
wanna
that
see
I
how
gotta
they're writing.
answer all 3, right?
I just want to see their quick writing style.
Yep, and if they've got some specific things that they want to highlight, it's interesting to see what they highlight.
Yeah.
Now, one more assignment, sorry. In your binder, at the end of section 1, but I did make copies tonight, just in case you didn't have your binders. There is a section that says sample questions for interview 1. Okay? Sample questions for first interviews. There are a lot of questions here, okay, into different categories. So your second assignment would be to pick your 2 favorite questions in each category. Because that's the other thing we will do when we get together, is start looking at these questions. We don't have to make decisions on them till the night that you're picking the candidate, actual interviewees, but the sooner you start looking at this, the better. Now, you'll modify it, because once you see the survey data, you might go, ooh, there's a category we maybe should have more questions, but I want you to at least become familiar with these, because it takes a while.
Wouldn't we could also just eventually just pick our essay question out of this?
Actually, we have a whole separate list of essay questions.
Okay, where are those?
I didn't hand those out yet, because you have enough to do already. But if
We
you
have
write
2
them,
things
I
to do.
have them. These are samples of actual essay questions that have been asked.
Okay.
But I like to normally wait till you see what categories you might like. I do have them.
I just want it all.
Yep, okay. And that, yeah, I can understand that. I brought it all.
Give it all to me up front, and then we'll just go from there.
I'll take it, but
I don't
they, as
function
long as
with
they have
mysteries.
it, I wasn't sure again if they had it.
All right, so we only have 2 assignments.
We got a lot.
You have 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got a lot of people to talk to, it sounds like.
yeah, I will take care of that part, but you need to do your focus group questions within the next 2 weeks. And you need to review the first round interview questions so that we can start handling those stuff. Those would be the 2 biggest steps. And then the rest of your worksheet, we will save till next time.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Awesome.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Get this rocking and rolling.
There we go.
Fantastic.
We'll get this revised calendar out to you right away too. So you can have it. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much for getting
Yeah,
rolling.
no, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you listening.
And I want to be as accommodating, but, you know, my brain works a little slow. slower now, the older I've gotten, so I'm still back on the, how I'm gonna do the check. I'm sure is. I'm gonna learn something new. We'll make it work.
Leave it to her, she'll figure it out.
Well, I may
That's all
just
she
call
does is
her, actually.
data.
Yeah, I may just call.
Cool.
No,
Thank
it's
you
not
again.
all
Thank you
that
so
she
much.
does, but
Yep.
she does a heck of a
Drive
lot
safe.
more.
Yeah,
Drive safe
home. Yep,
Thank you.
All right, sounds great. That was number 7. We'll move back up to where we left off with number 5, which would be consideration and approval of the next steps with the school forest land sale.
So, administration did receive one, bid for $7,500. Administration recommends rejecting that bid, so that's our current.
That was the total, not per
That's per acre. So we've got,
We had 9.
we had set 9 as our floor. We got 2 bids, one at 7, one at 75. So they're well below. So they're recommending that we do not accept either of those because it was below a floor. So now we have to decide what our next option is.
And this is for which property?
This is the one towards Sparta.
Okay.
So we had
Gotcha.
none on
Nothing
Jackson
with the
County,
big ones.
correct?
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if it's in Jackson County, but.
But I have a question about that property. Do we have, because some things were brought to my attention about some strange thing, like easements on that property was brought to my attention. And then, for the utility that goes through there, the road that goes through there, the, what do you call it, the, snowmobile path that goes through there, do we have it on record about that, and then the title issue? But the title's been in our name for 70 some odd years.
So those are things, I think we could find, I think, like, I don't have that information for you, I'd have to get that for you, I wasn't aware to bring any of that this evening, but, I do know that there was a bid that came in, we recommend rejecting it, and then perhaps you can talk next steps.
Okay.
A lot of those things, like the snowmobile trails, that's arbitrary, that's between the snowmobile club and whoever purchases the land. So that doesn't concern us at all. All those other things are done in the title search, when they search the title, the buyer,
Right.
and.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So part of what we had decided initially was we were trying to do this with as limited, like, we didn't want to spend a lot to do a lot of stuff. So we were basically wanted to say, we're selling it as is, we want 9,000 per acre, let's see what happens. Okay, this is what's happened. Okay, we got no bids in Jackson County, if that's, I don't know if that's what I'm gonna call it, we'll say the Warrens one.
Yeah.
We have 2 bids that were too low here. So we got multiple ways we can go. We can, and somebody may come up with some other ones, but we can walk away from it for a while. So we can just say, let's just table this till forever, until we bring it up again. We can, lower our floor and, basically reopen it, you know? Or we can do a different type of sale. Like, we could do an auction, like a one day, like just say, we're gonna, on this date, we're gonna auction it, whoever shows up is gonna buy it, you know, or for whatever it happens to be. We can still set a floor, or whatever else I guess we come up with. Those are the few that I thought of, or we thought of.
Well, my biggest concern is we have to act in the best interest of our tax-paying base, our taxpayers. And the best interest of the school district in getting the best deal we possibly can get. And does that mean that we just table this, or do we take the higher of the 2 bids?
We can't.
We can't.
We set 9 as the low,
Oh,
so we
okay.
can't simply say we got whoever was closest. So
Okay.
this is where we'd have to reopen it till whatever. We could say January 30th or February 15th or whatever. We could say,
Okay.
now we're gonna lower it to 7. You know, and then we could reach out to these 2 and say, just so you know, we're reopening it. You both have qualifying bids, you know.
And then do that,
And then
okay.
do that. So if we feel that 7 or 75 or whatever is a new number we're gonna be satisfied with,
So
we could do that.
So legally, what you're saying is we have to reject them because they didn't
Yes.
meet the
Yeah.
criteria
Basically,
of
yes.
the lower.
That's basically
So
right.
then, that's where we are. So now we decide, so that takes care of that, takes care of those 2 bids. And now we decide, do we wanna continue this path, Or do we just wait until a better season?
Which is what I said.
That's what he said.
And so I would wait until a better season. That would be what I would recommend at this point, and,
Table it for a while.
yeah.
So first with a decision on the bid and then we
Reject.
do the second one?
I'd make a motion to reject the bid.
Do we have to?
Well,
Since we didn't have any qualified bids?
Well, I think we have to, because we can't start a new one until we
So-
nullify the other one, right?
We can make a motion saying, because we didn't get any qualifying bids, we are
Just
rejecting it.
rejecting the offers.
Nick, so, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm just.
I'm just trying to figure out if we have to. If we didn't get anything that qualified.
No, we don't. We don't.
You don't? Okay.
We don't.
Superintendent, I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question of the superintendent? Or, no, not appropriate time?
It's his meeting.
Yeah. I'm not really supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, it was about the encumbered, properties encumbered by easements that are not recorded. It's the board's position that that's tough luck for the buyer.
Correct.
So you're buying a property that has easements, but are not recorded against the deed. So I could buy 200 acres, it could be hypothetically, and all 200 acres are encumbered by an easement that's not recorded. So it's like a bait and switch, if you go and buy that 200 acres, and then find out after the purchase that I was encumbered beforehand by an unrecorded easement.
Okay, well, regardless of what it is, we're not gonna accept the ones that are too low, we can't. So,
We can't legally.
so I guess we can, just to make it clear, if somebody wants to make a motion that we reject the bids that didn't qualify, we can do that, just so it's on record.
Yeah, that's so it's on record. I just make that motion because that's what the board decided.
That did not reach our minimum ask.
Yes, that's all.
So is that what you were saying, Spencer?
That's exactly right, because it didn't meet the criteria that we extended it.
Okay, so I got a motion by Mr. Stevens that we do not accept any of the bids that did not reach the minimum ask of 9,000. A second for that.
I'll sign it.
Second by Rick. All those in favor of that, say aye.
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 Any opposed to that? Okay, so now the next step is, we've had some discussion about tabling. I guess I don't know how that looks, so we just gonna say we'll table it indefinitely? And just see whenever one of us feels like bringing it up again?
What about an appraisal?
Are we going to, pick a deadline that we're gonna look at it again? Summer, spring, fall?
If there's questions about easements and all of that.
So then we're gonna start spending money, which is what we
Yeah,
were
I
trying not to do
we-
originally.
I mean, we don't have to sell it at this point.
No, we don't. We can sit on it.
I kind of feel at this point in time, we've got a lot on our plate
Yes.
without having to deal with this.
Okay.
I would say we put it off indefinitely at this time.
Okay, I move to table any further action related to the school forest land sale and district administration to return with options and supporting data, including market comparables and valuation considerations.
You're gonna have to go.
Yeah.
Second table, any further action? We got that far?
Related to the school forest land sale.
Related
And direct
to the
administration.
school
Hold on, yeah.
forest land sale
And direct administration to return with options.
and direct administration to return with options
And supporting data,
and supporting data,
including market comparables and
including market
valuation
comparables.
considerations.
What was that?
And valuations considerations.
And evaluations and considerations. Any date on that?
Nope, just a straight table.
And I'll second it.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Just appreciate you going slow for me.
People pay attention a little bit.
Second.
Good motion by Heidi, and second by Teresa.
Okay.
All those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that?
We're cooking, let's go.
Okay, come on. Thank you, Heidi, for getting me to dinner.
All right, next would be a board member discussion and position on the WASB, so our Wisconsin Association of School Board, proposed resolutions for the 2026 Delegate Assembly held during the annual meeting annual meeting, which is on January 21st of 2026.
Yep, so I just wanted to put some things, Heidi's got all of this, the board has it all. You know, if there was anything that really caught your eye that you wanted to let Heidi know, hey, this is concerned and keep us up to date.
I actually have, oh, look at you with notes. Shut up, let's do this. Alright. Alright.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is one that I actually really do wanna come to you guys about, is the bylaw amendment. I don't know if any of you guys kinda actually took the time to read it or anything like that.
No.
So Kel Moran, which is a school district, they put forth a bylaw amendment to the WASB, I think that's how we say it, I don't know. And basically, the context of this amendment, they're looking to change the model of association to WASB, okay? So they wanna make it a tier membership to be able to be a part of it. And just to quote Kettle Moran, because I want it on record for, context. A one-size-fits-all advocacy model fails to reflect the unique demographic, cultural, and policy landscapes across Wisconsin. So they're arguing that their amendment basically respects local district values, preserves unity versus full withdrawal, meaning that they would like to still stay a part of WASB, but they don't want the full membership of WASB. And they're saying that it increases transparency. So essentially this amendment though would fundamentally alter the active member structure, which is something that WASB actually really touts and really advocacy, like they really claim that they have a unified advocacy platform when they're going to your state local legislatures, okay? Meaning like Wisconsin's unified and we're all moving together and this is the governance moves that we want to make, okay? By this amendment, Kettle Moran's basically saying, no, we don't wanna do that. We wanna, kind of like get rid of some of our membership qualities and instead of having to fully withdraw from WASB. So my question to you guys is, and I didn't wanna answer this one because I didn't think that it was fair without actually asking you guys. Do you guys believe in a strong unified advocacy for public education? Meaning, do you believe that WASB would be a stronger organization if all of the school districts have a voting participation in it? Or do you think that WASB would be fine by tiering it and letting some school districts basically negate their rights for a lower fee, which is basically right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what's happening. So these school districts really don't wanna pay the WASB fee anymore, and they're willing to basically, take a lower fee and take away some of their rights as a school district. My concern with it from a legal standpoint of view is I view WASB as if this is the strong arm of Wisconsin's legislative power, where you're literally, talking about governance and going to the state legislators and pushing for these resolutions that they're asking us to, kind of vote on and so forth. Do you guys feel that a more unified, structure of everybody being together is more important, or do you think that it would be advantageous to basically let them kind of go off on their own? And this isn't something, because this is what you risk, right? You risk them either fully withdrawing, right, because they don't have, we'll say, the resources to be able to cover the WASB fees, right? So we're losing membership, right? Or, from a legislative standpoint, does it make us look weaker by being a part of this association? So. And I'm sure that's all,
My
when you
fear
guys
is
were,
that
when you guys were reading it, you guys were thinking the same thing. You guys were like, yeah, this would kind of mess with us legislatively maybe.
My fear is that they wouldn't get a voice, that they're taking
They're
their name out
purposely-
and.
They're purposely saying purposely saying they don't want the voice because they don't want to pay the fee.
Yeah, but then it gives more voice to the,
But does it? Because
to
again,
the bigger
these
districts.
these are just governing policies that you're taking to your state legislators. They're not actually being passed at
Right,
WASB,
right.
right? You know, this is
Right.
just what we'd like WASB to focus on, you know, when they're going to Madison and advocating, right? Like, that's what these resolutions are, of like, opposing the caps on Wisconsin's parental choice, even, you know, fund distributions, universal state covered meals. I mean, these are all just, I don't wanna say pipe dreams, but they kind of are, you know, because you're literally pushing an advocacy, you know, like at a legislative level, right? And that's what we're asking WASB, this is what we're paying this organization to go to Madison and advocate on behalf of the Tomah Area School District, right? So, it's not life or death, kids. So my question to you guys really is on this one is the only one where I don't think I have a pulse on it of what you guys would actually want me to vote on it for. Because this really does fundamentally change the tier membership of WASB. Meaning that at some point in time, Tomah even could sit there and say, hey, we don't want full voting rights and we don't wanna participate and we'd like to take that lower tier, you know, of
Because we're
participation.
struggling financially, yeah.
I really don't have an opinion. I'm not even gonna lie, my brain bandwidth for that is just,
I love it.
just whatever. You do you. Do whatever you do.
Okay, so here we go. So I'll just put a
My
motion
brain's
forward then, so we can just go home. I move that the board grant and designate WASB delegate or the alternate discretionary authority to vote on amendments, emergency resolutions, and procedural matters during the 2026 delegate assembly, consistent with the board's discussion and general direction tonight.
Isn't that what they do anyways?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the whole
what's
idea, right?
historically done. That's what you've historically
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's, but we do have to be mindful of some of those resolutions that are on there.
I absolutely
Agreed,
agree.
you know, reporting on the, you know, Kettle Rain, New London, they're all saying, you know, we just had this discussion. You know, we changed the parameters
Right.
for the DPI scorecard, so we can't even track. So
Right.
their contention is, no, we need more continuity. Revenue limits.
Right.
There were some really crucial things, divert the funding to the disadvantaged.
Mhm.
You know, I look at, Milwaukee, and, I wrote it down somewhere, they have a truancy rate that's 40-some% or something, but they're disadvantaged, so they get more money. See, all I'm saying is that sometimes we have to look at some of this, and then some of these other things, who's gonna administrate some of these things, you know, where we're talking about the weighting and various things with the scorecard, because that determines, okay, we're talking about lunches, we're talking about some special category in special ed now.
Right.
That diverts funding. All I'm saying is that who's gonna administrate that? And I just think there are some really important things. I don't wanna get off it. I mean, everyone's tired.
But that's not what Heidi is talking
No,
about,
I
right?
know, you're talking about-
Oh, okay,
you're talking about
okay,
other ones.
Cause I was like, well, that I care about.
That's what I'm saying, but that's what all these are.
That's what
Okay.
all these resolutions
So,
are,
so
so like,
what's gonna happen?
But what you're talking about is
Yeah.
whether
the bylaws one. was
Right,
the-
Yeah,
but that's
so-
about like if all the school districts are gonna have a say or only certain school districts.
Right.
Are
is
you
what you're
asking
saying, right?
us
Mine's
to
different.
tell you
Mine's-
if
As long
we're,
as Tomah gets a say, I don't care.
Okay.
are you asking us,
It is,
if-
but that's why I'm saying.
But I absolutely.
are you
That's
wanting
where
direction
our
on
say
all
is.
of these
You're right.
issues?
Right.
I just,
I would
That's
like
okay.
to, I'd like to think that we're all on board with this stuff, like, I can sit there and go, I have them all written down, like, literally all 10. Opposing the removal of the caps of Wisconsin parental choice, I would suggest that Tomah would want to support that, removing caps could accelerate funding loss for Tomah Public Schools, caps help shield Tomah taxpayers from growing backfills, burdens, and maintain system integrity.
So I think what needs to happen is people need to look at these and tell Teresa, who is our delegate.
No.
No.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
I'm not doing
I'm sorry, I
it.
looked at something else, I'm sorry. Tell Heidi how you feel
Okay.
about the ones that you feel about.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we voted for her to be our delegate,
Yes.
Yeah.
so we're advocating for her opinion on all this stuff. So if you have a strong opinion, either way, on any of these, email her, call her, write to her, take her a letter in the mail, I don't care, just somehow. Before the convention, right? And let her know, I appreciate
I
that
will let
you,
you know my opinion.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that you took the time and look at this stuff very, very good. Just so you know what happens in that room is it's a huge room, she will be given a paddle. It's literally,
Yeah. It's
I
all-
mean, it will literally be a paddle with a number. And then what they do is they literally will go through each one of these. They'll say, we have this resolution on the board. Is there any discussion? And then people can come up to the mics. And usually what happens, I'll be honest, one or two people might go up there and then people get sick of it. And all of a sudden they'll say, I called the question and it's done. And then it'll be a vote. And it'll literally be who is in vote of this resolution. They'll raise a paddle or it's a clicker. If the clickers work, it'll be a clicker. And you literally click yes or no. And then they'll say it passed or didn't pass, right, as opposed to this and then everything, so. So it should be one vote of many, but that's very important, so, if you're cool with that,
Yeah, I've been
Well,
doing
thank
my
you.
research on it, I swear,
Yeah.
so.
Why don't you just bog the system down and get up to the mic?
if you get sick or something, make sure you pass on all your notes to me.
Mr. Chairman, I took some notes just exactly as how you wrote that, so thank you for crafting a wonderful motion, but I think I just put that in, so thank you very much. Thanks for your review, everybody. Great session.
Okay, awesome, okay. We do not need to go to the closed session, that was actually kind of prematurely put on there, dealing with if we had any internal candidates, which we're not at that point yet, because we don't have any applicants for the superintendent or anything, so that is not relevant yet. So, we are not going to go in any kind of close tonight, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so I just need something done with number 9.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I will make a motion to, what, you want something done with number 9?
Yeah. We
So
don't need
you
anything
needed to
else.
make a motion
Katie
to.
just did.
Oh, okay.
Heidi seconded it. So Katie had a motion to adjourn.
It's my turn,
In favor?
It's over, it's to adjourn.
Aye.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you all, long night. We've got a lot of work coming up, very important work coming up. We'll keep your cool.
Sorry, I read 9.
I